Hey, everyone. Good to see you. So, hey, James, if you're here, you know the deal. Say hi. Share us in your out on your page. And man, what a week. What a week, guys. Got some things to show off and talk about. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link for inviting people in. Yes, sir. Back to the house. It wasn't too much later than what I thought I would go, so not too bad. Who knows? You never know who's going to show up in these streams and want to hang out with us for a bit and talk bees. But I got something pretty cool at the show that I wanted to show you, and I was hoping that some of you queen breeding guys would want to come on and talk. Let me pin this to the top here just in case. There it goes. It's pinned to the top if you want to come in. Right now, it's dead silent, so I don't know. I just launched a video too. So the video is all the lives and all of the already my brother, my Canadian brother. Hold on, I'm not hearing you. Hold on. I don't know what's going on with my sound here. General settings. That's right. Audio, speaker. No, okay.
How about now?
I might have to put my headphones on. Wasn't planning on that. Let me see. Yeah, it didn't switch over from my headphones, but we're good now. Now I can't see you, but I can hear you. So you're back in the room.
Back in the room, driving around. Man, it rained here all day again today. Really? So, but jumped in the car, went for a cruise, got off the strip. Actually went back and some of the farmyards and stuff like that around here just to see exactly what Tennessee is or Saraville, Tennessee is like not on the strip. So it was pretty interesting.
Country.
Get this country boy out of the city, man.
Well, did it make you feel at home?
Absolutely. Well,
only not as flat, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely not as flat. We're in the prairies for sure at home.
I ate I ate every dinner with you. I think that we were up there. Not breakfast really, but dinner, yeah, for sure. So you're enjoying your trip to the States, I take it?
Absolutely. You know what? Everybody's been super friendly down here. Just totally amazing. It's it's really been a trip of a lifetime. Like say everything going on at the conference, and then meeting yourself and Lee and Charlie and everybody, Ricky. I mean, I could just go on and on and on, but everybody's super friendly.
And I mean, we had a bunch of laughs too.
If you're not having fun, you're doing the wrong thing.
That's true. We went up there. Honestly, I went up there kind of knowing what to expect, but it was even better than what I thought it was going to be. And it was, I mean, almost bee overdose.
Well, I don't know if that's possible, but
I know we were on the verge, though. It was like,
yeah, I was chatting back and forth with, as you know, Brad with Faith Avery. He's kind of one of my mentors. He's been helping me along there, but I was chatting back and forth with him there today, and he's like, sure wishes he would have came down, but he's like, oh, I would have just got the video and spent all the time walking around. And I was like, well, I'm still going to get the video. And I spent most of my time walking around, but I had to sit down and give my legs a break.
Oh yeah, it was tough. Back, feet. We had to go live just to get a break from walking around sometimes. Yeah. But it was, just the sheer amount of bee wares that were for sale.
Oh, it was just everywhere.
Yeah, you could not. I thought after you could say 3 days, because I was there Thursday night, right? Then Friday and Saturday, and I still feel like I missed a ton of stuff that was there.
Well, keep in mind. So I've all been almost just about, well, not quite a week. I guess Tuesday will be a week. But stopping at the Blue Ridge Hunting Company on the way up from Atlanta. Stopping off in Edmonton and arranging for some stuff from Bee Made and stuff there. So today was the first day that I didn't do anything bee. Now I was supposed to meet up with a few guys, help them out there from the conference and stuff like that, but that just didn't turn out. I think
the rain
still beat and asleep. But I don't think I got out of bed until it must have been after 9 o'clock. Well, that'd be 7 o'clock my time at home, which
made him late for breakfast, which
that's sleeping in for me, and that's huge, so I don't do that very often.
Well, so to give them an idea how this morning went, right, I was heading up to a breakfast restaurant called Flapjacks, and I text James. I'm like, hey, I'm headed to Flapjacks. He's like, oh, which one you at? And by the time James got there, we had just left. So I called him on the phone because I was driving, and we talked for over an hour on the phone.
Yeah, I was sitting in the parking lot.
He was in the parking lot for over an hour just talking to me on the phone about bees. And I'm like, oh, well, I better let you go get breakfast before they close down or something. And so, yeah, it was just crazy. And, I bought this crazy tool that you saw at the show. And you said you were going to make one.
I'm going to make one of those. You betcha.
So, obviously, it's got the plug-in with a nice little on-off push button.
You betcha.
I guess that's the thermostat or controller. Hopefully, it's already preset and I don't have to mess with it. But
no, you'll have to set it. But they set pretty easy. There should be the instructions in the box there on how to set it.
You mean these pieces, these things?
Yeah, those things. The ones we throw away and then we struggle for a week to figure out how to work the damn thing.
So it holds 45 queen cells in there, so that should be pretty helpful. And I guess this first time I've taken this out, but I guess that is the actual backside of the controller box right there.
You got her, yeah.
And I thought this was all American made when I bought it from April.
I'm going to guess the controller's not.
Well, it's even a little bit more deceptive than that. So I got to looking at this. It says Queen Cell Caddy and all, Apis Engineering, McMahon, and Given Instruments, right? But then you look right down here. It says T320 in a bunch of foreign characters I don't recognize there.
Those are the same controllers that I use and the bug farmer uses in his hive heaters, which is now the ones I've got there are 110 volt, but you can buy those off of Amazon, either 110 or 12 volts. So, in fact, I ordered the parts and pieces, shortly after breakfast this morning because I didn't want to forget. So they should be waiting for me at home when I get there.
Yeah, see, you're the kind of guy that just comes out and says, I want a pallet of that, just carry it on.
It all comes at a cost.
Hey, Angela, good to see you. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you got that right, a cost. And my thing is, I was like I'm almost glad it worked out the way it did with the truck not being able to haul it. Yeah, well, it wasn't covered, right? So I didn't want to leave it out, but you would have bet there'd have been a couple of pallets in the back of that truck going home of woodenware or something.
You know, to give I don't know how many watchers and stuff you've got on here. I can't see it if I
15 right now.
No, I was going to say if I select the chat, then I can't see you. Which, well, what am I doing? I should select the chat.
Yeah, I know, right? I definitely have a face for radio.
But to give the viewers that are on here an idea, I mean, I can come down to Hive Life. I can purchase stuff at Hive Life. I can pay the freight all the way back up to Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada, and I can still get it cheaper than I can buy it at home. So those are the kind of deals that that the vendors at these places are putting on for us. So,
well, the funny part is we can order stuff from Canada and get it cheaper down here because of the exchange rate.
There it is.
That toolbox only cost me like what was it, $180 or 3.2 billion Canadian.
Exactly.
Just random numbers thrown out there. And I mean, it was just I saw Cayman at breakfast this morning. Well, he was at breakfast, unbeknownst to me, because he was already standing up talking to some people. And when I walked up and started talking to him, I noticed he had a plate with some, berries and eggs and stuff on it. And it was like, man, we just can't leave this poor guy alone to even eat his breakfast,
Yeah.
And I mean, what is the, I hate to say the biggest thing. What would be some things that you would think your biggest takeaways from the show were?
Geez, there's so many. I got probably as many takeaways from the conversations or the side conversations or the supper conversations as I did from some of the speakers. Some of the other big takeaways I got is seeing what the vendors are doing out there. I'm going to use Pierce for one. I don't know if anybody's watched my video. So every day I uploaded a video about the show or the Hive Life. And a year ago, I did a review on the Pierce decapping knife that has the temperature controller.
Right.
And I mean, love the knife, but it was just too short. It just everything I do at home is all deep supers. And I made sure that, in my review, I'm honest. I don't slam anything. I just give them the honest opinion. Well, it was interesting enough. After I posted that video, about a week later, I got an email from Pierce. I don't want to say a nastagram, but they weren't happy with my review of their product.
I believe that was the word you used with us at dinner.
Yeah, it was. Okay, it was a nastagram I got. But anyways, so the owner and the guy who was at Pierce was there. So of course, not knowing the outcome of that, I went up to him and I both barrels armed. It's like, oh, okay, I got a nastagram from you guys, so now the gloves are off. Let's now I'm face to face. I can make sure that they understand what my needs were. And they knew exactly who I was.
Did they call you by name? Hi, James, when you walked up?
They actually, yeah, I think it was his son. His son knew me by name. He knew the review. He knew the video and everything I put up. And lo and behold, they listened to me, which blew my mind. they actually made a knife now that is big enough for a deep super. But I was blown away to think that YouTube has that kind of power, where you can have a manufacturer like this from a review that somebody puts on in another country, and they listen to it and they respond to it. So that absolutely blew me away.
Well, a similar thing happened to me at the show. I was talking to the guys from Saracel, the owner and his son, and they actually saw a video I did on the Ross round killer.
Oh, yes.
It's their frame, right?
Yeah.
And they said they really appreciated that. They enjoyed the video, and then I gave them a constructive criticism. I said, I love your feeders, your top feeders, and I hate them at the same time. And he said, why? What's wrong with them? I said, well, the plastic tray that it sits on top of the frame, right?
Yep.
And it's not flush on the sides, or it's not recessed. So I said, you got to do one or two things. I said, either you have to recess it down so the migratory cover will sit flat on it, or you have to make the plastic tray wider to match the dimensions.
It goes right to the outside.
Yeah. And he said, well, we've been working on that, and they're talking about tooling the wooden frame. And then when I mentioned making it go to the frame, he said, well, that would be much simpler. We just called and so he talked to his dad, and he's like, yeah, we'll have him put some together and see how that goes for us.
So
the
power of YouTube's amazing, eh?
We got someone in the room for a first time on. Dun, dun, dun. Tom Wayman.
Can you hear me good?
Yes, sir.
All right, just using my phone.
Hey, that's awesome, man. So,
yeah.
Tom,
hey, James.
Hello. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you again.
So I was kind of laughing about your Wayne's honeybees and how that became a thing. If I'm not misunderstanding it, it's your last name is Waymer, right?
Wayner.
Okay,
yeah.
So people were messing it up just like I just did, right?
Yes, everybody messes it up.
So that's how come it became Wayne's honeybees. But your name is actually Tom.
Yes.
That's awesome. So I take it your trip was good back to Ohio?
Yeah, it was an easy trip.
Nice.
75 was empty for some reason. It's always packed.
Well, I came back to lovely 63-degree weather, bees flying, hitting the dry pollen sub.
32 degrees. I came back to.
How do I not have the names on the screen? Lee, see, this is Lee's deal, man. Lee does this. Why are the names not on the screen? Is it something I'm doing? Probably. Why is it doing it that way? Well, that'll bring. I'm trying to figure it out, guys. Don't.
No problem.
Don't break me down too bad. I don't know why it's not showing the names.
I just bought a microphone, a camera, so I can go more professional in the near future.
Oh, well, you're on the wrong show for professionalism, sir.
I got to keep up with Lee.
No. Anybody can keep up.
No, there's no. Well, I mean, you could, but just dig deep. So,
I spent all my money on beekeeping equipment.
Yeah, I know. So here's the question, Tom. What did you buy at the show?
I bought a Hilco 19-gallon heated, jacketed bottling tank.
Nice.
And some metal queen excluders, because I'm throwing away all my plastic ones away.
You didn't like them? Well, don't throw them away. Just put them in a box.
I'm not throwing them away, but I'm phasing them out.
You can mail them down to Bob. Hey, you know what? There may be some people on this channel, on this chat right now, that would buy them from you. If you're going to get rid of them.
I'll give them away. I'll probably give them to my customers that buy my nucs.
Oh, there you go. There's something to do.
You get one clean excluder with every 2 nucs?
There you go.
They're telling me to call Lee. Let me see if there's a way to change this.
Hey, you remember it was minus 40 2 days ago at home?
Yeah.
It's warming up.
Oh, heat wave.
Well, it's in the positive U.S. side, right?
Well, yeah. You guys inflate everything down here. My dollar's actually $1. You guys just inflate it down here.
Well, that's true as well. So there you go. I mean, at least with the temperature, you're beating us on that front. Your dollars. Well, no, I guess your temperature is worth less than our temperature down here too.
It's all worthless.
Oh my goodness. So, Tom, what did you gather from the show there?
I like just meeting everybody. I mean, that was my main objective going down there, more than listening to all the speakers.
Well, from the people that I've heard that have went in there, a lot of it was stuff that they've already heard those people say on YouTube.
Well, part of it was, but there's always
a nugget, right?
There's always a nugget there somewhere, right?
So I was in a different mode for the show. I was more, hey, it was business for me. I was down there trying to market the swarm lure, stuff like that. Right. So it was a little bit different show for me, but hey, I enjoyed the heck out of it. I like to talk. You guys watch me all the time. I'm just
we didn't figure it out. Like we would have never known.
Never known.
I never heard Bob say a word. Did you, James?
Philip said he's here for an intervention. I have a live problem. That's true. Hey, you know what the funny part about that is? A lot of times I will get messages. Hey, you going live tonight? What time we going live? Hey, nothing's going on. Let's go live. Some of it is that, and some of it is like driving. Just wanted to talk bees.
There you go.
Talk about stuff.
Right.
And to be honest with you, I have more people on YouTube that I technically hang out with than I do in the real world. You go to work, you come home, you do your stuff, and then it's like, let's get on the YouTube and see what's going on.
Well, it goes by quickly. I mean, you take a look. We've been on here almost, 22 minutes or over 22 minutes already.
Oh, yeah. It definitely flies by. They're upset with me because I don't know how to get the names to pop up. Let me see. No. I see your names on the bottom, but I don't know why it's not showing it on the screen. It's interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, I can't help you with this one.
Me neither. I can't help myself with this. Oh, I do have to show. I know. Hey, check this out, Filament Corner. No, never mind. I can't show it to you. It came back up. I upgraded to Windows 11, and that little activate Windows thing disappeared for before I left. Right. Let's see if I can find out from Lee how to get this thing going. Oh. He dropped out. Then there were two. He'll come back, I'm pretty sure. Where's Lee? There's Lee. So when you get back, we talked about you possibly going through your, you call it your bee shed, or what do you call it?
My bee barn, yeah.
Your bee barn. And giving us the rundown on that. And you'll be cold the whole stream. Well, you probably won't be. You'll be just like an Eskimo.
Hey, look at that. You're life size.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, I've got, that's one of the things I think I got the most questions on down here at the Hive Life is a lot of people just don't understand how a bee barn works and why we put them in sheds and everything like this. So, I mean, yeah, I'll see if I can't figure it out. I mean, I have Wi-Fi and everything all out there, so I don't see as to why we can't, can't fire up the iPad just like I'm doing here. but take you out to the bee barn. And then if people have questions, well, I can literally walk over and show them.
That's what Garrison said. It's Garrison. He said, it's sad, but talking with my wife, I realized she and my bees are pretty much my only friends besides David at DC's Buzz Bees.
That's funny.
That does happen. I've got the message into Lee. We'll see what happens there with that.
Hey, Bob, one other thing I wanted to share was that venting, no venting that I figured out. You know, with putting silica, cat litter in the box.
Oh, yeah. You put it in the top box like a...
Yeah, just on top of the frames. Just like sugar brick or fondant.
And it just absorbs the moisture.
On the top lid, up in that area. So you still get the moisture on the side of the boxes, what the bees need.
But not underneath them, not right over top of them.
Not right over top of them. So I've been doing it now for 2 years, and I've never had a wet lid yet. And I just take a 4x6 tea bag and stuff a little cat litter in it. Make sure it's pure silica versus junk in it.
Try, William. I'll be your friend if you're cool. Well, I just I took all of those lives that we did, and I downloaded them. And StreamYard only broadcasts, like right now, even though we have 1080p cameras or whatever, it only broadcasts in 720. So I downloaded all of those lives we did and cut out the intro so everybody could see the interviews we did with Mike Berry and all those guys. And so it is a very long video, but it's all I'm starting to do. But it's in 1080 now. It's not in 720. So you might be able to see it better if you got 2 hours that you don't ever want to get back.
I was looking at that today. I was looking to see how many hours of video I shot. And I filled up 128 gigabyte cards.
Wow.
There's a lot of video.
That is a lot. And I'm starting to see on Facebook some of the photos that are coming back from like the honey show and the Great Wall of Honey that has all of the different shades of honey through it.
Yep.
And a lot of people don't realize how many different shades of honey there are out there.
Probably one shade for every nectar source.
Oh yeah, it's quite impressive to see it all.
And probably a different shade in the spring from that same flower than what it is in the fall.
Yep.
So,
well, I know my honey is pretty light amber color in the spring and a little bit darker in the fall.
Got her. I don't know.
Yeah, I went about the same. Medium dark in the fall or late summer, fall, pretty light in the spring.
I was gonna say, I don't know what your honey's like. You didn't bring any.
Under brand.
I didn't bring any either. That's
you notice on his honey, turn that back. He's got the little YouTube and the QR code they can get to his YouTube channel right on the.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That's what I told him. I'm like,
I got to upgrade.
Hey,
there's your names.
Look at that.
You figured it out.
Look at Galloway Lights the other night. Couldn't figure out how to operate it. Now he's telling me after a year how to fix it. See, beekeeping community.
just like that. We're up there.
Perfect. Buy food grade silica bags for preserving dry goods. Yep, you might dehydrate your bees though. They might be freeze dried bees in the winter.
Yeah, if I put a whole bag in.
Let me see. I see now why they compare the birds to the bees. My wife's birds are increasing faster than my bees. Yeah, I came home and my one nuke that I have in the backyard by where I do my queen mating nukes. I believe it got robbed out while I was gone at the show.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I opened the top to check on them, and there was a little small cluster. And when I opened it up, they started coming out. So I'm like, probably just robber bees cleaning out the rest of the stuff in there. So my nukes are not doing very well, but they weren't real strong nukes going into winter. So we'll just, our pseudo winter down here.
Yeah, if you call this winter.
Right.
Yeah. Our just before our second summer or whatever you want to call it. But gosh, so what's next on you guys' agenda?
Mine? Well, I'm probably going to hit on my way back down to Atlanta. So I'm going to go down and see the bug farmer down there. So put a bit of time in with him. So he kind of, him and his heaters actually helped me get started in the bees there a few years back. So when I touch bases with him, probably shoot, maybe if everything goes good, maybe we'll shoot some video, or we'll see how that goes. But I think I'm going to stop off maybe on my way down there too at Lynchburg, Tennessee. I'm a Jack fan, so I'm this far. I might as well go see how they do it.
Oh yeah, and sample a few different ones.
Isn't that a given?
is so as far as bees though, what I mean, you've got a little while before you can even.
Yeah, actually, here I'll show you. Let me show you this. So this is the temperature in my bee barn right now. So I can monitor it all from here, and I can control it all from here too. So as you can see, I've got different hive sensors, my mixed air temperature sensor and stuff like that. So I can control my whole bee barn from my phone, which is kind of nice while I'm down here, because as the weather warmed up from -40 to what was it, -9, -9 or -7 or whatever it is.
Right.
I mean, I can most of the heat adjust automatically, but it did get up to about 6 degrees, and I want to keep them at 4. So, quick look at it this morning. I turned on the exhaust fan, got rid of that heat, and brought them right back down now to well, as you can see, the north hive sensor is down to 2 degrees, and the south one there is at 4. So, I want to keep it at an average of 4 degrees. So that's just sitting pretty.
Well, now, how much does that affect your electric bill during the winter? Or is it all natural gas, or is it solar?
No. So with this shop here, it's all electric. Now, the bees, most people forget the bees generate heat. So for the most part, they can kind of look after it. I've got a couple different exhaust fans that'll kick on at different stages or different temperatures. So, I mean, if they get up to about, 6 degrees, the first exhaust fan will kick in. If they get to 7 degrees, the second one will kick on. If they get above 7 degrees, I get an alarm, and then I can kick on the big one, and I can open up a damper and basically suck the cold air in, so I can blow that heat out relatively quickly. Okay. It does affect the electricity bill, but on average, it probably costs me about a hive. If I'd have to sell a hive a month to pay for the electricity bill. So like I said, go in with 78. Even if I was to take 6 out of that, I'd still have 72 hives that I'm keeping that way. So right. It's all numbers. You just got to work the numbers.
See, that's Beekenomics, right?
Beekenomics
works.
Right.
Hey, Philip, how's it going, brother?
Phillip.
You're muted.
Unmute.
Sorry about that. I just want to jump on here and say how cool I was, like James McAnally.
There you go.
And as soon as I got on, he started talking about controlling his barn from his phone, and like, okay, I'm not cool anymore. Sorry.
Hey, I got one up on James now. I do have 16 solar panels I just installed 2 months ago.
There you go. Yeah, solar panels won't work for me. I mean, it doesn't get daylight up there until I don't even know what sunrise is. Probably about 10 o'clock.
Does the sun even get above horizon?
Oh yes, yeah, it was there. Actually, I spent years up in the Northwest Territories where the sun would set in October, and you didn't see it again until April.
Right.
But, in Grand Prairie, we get 4 to 6 hours of daylight a day, and it's just not enough with a solar
That's
panel.
not near enough. No, it's even borderline where I live in the wintertime.
I would like to see that when your bees, I mean, during the summer, you still have a longer, I mean, how much sunlight do you get in the summertime then?
Yeah. The sun goes down at about 11, comes up at about 3. So we get lots of sunlight in the summer. And it doesn't really get dark per se. So
I mean, I bet your bees though are working hard during those hours.
Well, they better be, or I'm going to find different bees.
You're gonna have to fire them and hire some new ones. Well, any of those that you just want to reject, just mail them on down here. We'll take them. We'll send them on a vacation to the sunny south.
Well, I do have a bunch. I got. I'll have to get my butt in gear because I think I got about 50 queens that are going to get replaced this year. So
50 of them.
Yeah.
Well, you said in our conversations at the show that you basically run a queen 2 years, 2 seasons.
Yeah, two years, and then they're gone. Yep.
Wow. I only run mine 1 year.
So
you replace your queens every year?
Every August. Yeah, because it cuts down 90. I do it about in August, end of July, August, and it cuts down 90 most of the swarming. This year I had none, or last year. Year before that I had 1.
So our swarming season's at the beginning of the season up there. So yeah. May, June is our swarming season.
That's the end of our season, James.
My
July 1st.
Yeah.
But Bob, I graft my own queens. So okay. I just graft, pinch them, and replace them. This year I did keep 2 because they were pretty good genetics.
Now, do you know what Bruce Binney did last year? Is he ordered queen cells for all of his colonies. Mm-hmm. And then he just put a queen cell in every colony, whether it had a queen or it didn't, and let them figure it out, which one was going to be the best queen for them.
Yeah,
the problem with that is unless they're marked, you don't know how old your queen you have in there is.
Right. Yeah. So you'd have to have marked queens in there originally and then put the cell in and see if it got superseded or not.
And exactly.
Right.
I guess you don't have to, but you're going to have to really watch as to what's happening there. And of course, there was one presentation at the Hive Life that said it right, and I forget who it was, but you could have a queen that would be absolutely rocking it in the fall, but she might not be any good at all in the spring. And of course, where I'm at, if I don't have a good queen coming out of the shed, my season's not long enough to make it up. So I basically would lose that whole season on that hive, or end up having to split it and turn it into nucs.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot of commercial guys do that every year. They put a queen cell in the fall and let the bees sort it out. But they're going to do it again the next year, so it doesn't really matter then how they evaluate the queens. But it does prevent swarming, like Lane said.
Yeah, it probably does. But like I said, if I had an old queen that managed to kill the young one, if she found that cell before she hatched out and stung the cell,
right.
Now I got an old queen that's going to be coming out of the shed in April, and she just might not perform.
And that's true. Yeah, in your situation, that probably makes sense. But I think in the South, the bees in April, if the season comes around, she's not really functioning. That's to replace her anyway.
Exactly, and you know what? That's what you have to do. You gotta manage your bees for the area you're at, and you got to manage your bees for what works for you. So this is something I keep telling people on the YouTube channels and stuff like that too. I show what I'm doing. By no means am I telling anybody what they should do. This is what I do, and this is why I do it. And I listen to everybody else too, because you know what? Maybe somebody else has got something that is way better than what I'm doing, and I try to assess and evaluate that all the time. But try it, see what works for you. Don't be afraid to take that leap or take that step. You may stumble on something that might revolutionize the beekeeping industry. Who knows?
Well, that's what I try to take out of YouTube videos is the why your person is doing something, not necessarily where they're at or, geographically. Obviously, you will be doing things at different times than I will be. However, if I can put in my mind why you are doing something a certain way, then that helps me, at least in my thought processes when I'm working my yard.
Exactly.
That's another one.
Hey, Bob, the reason I replace my queens about every year is that I run about 25 hives, but mostly for honey. But then I sell about 40 nucs. I sell 20 early with queens I grafted. And then in the summertime, there's always people looking, in the fall time, always looking for nucs or queens. And I sell them then, but I take my existing queen in my hives and then replace her. And it seems like that's about 20 of them, and I end up replacing all my queens. And it's a kind of a win-win. I sell nucs, and I also cut down on my swarming.
Yeah, you can do that down here. I'd never be able to do that up north. I need that cluster going into the bee barn. I need that big packed, box of bees in order to make it through the year successfully.
And I get a week where I can treat them without much fruit in them.
Yeah, that's a good point. But there's another reason I like James McAnally is because he makes 3,000 pounds of honey off 75 colonies. I make less than 400 off of 26 colonies. So we're like, and we still could make it on Bob's show with those low numbers.
Hey. No judgments here on this show. You know what I mean?
That's the only way I get on here.
Well, even with mine, this year I attributed my low numbers to how aggressive I was splitting, because I split them all, and I and sold a bunch, and it was just chaos this year for the way I was not really managing the hives, but because I set my hives so far back going into the honey flow, they were just getting built up good. So they didn't have a big workforce to be out there foraging. So this year I'm trying to approach it a little bit different. And I actually bought some of Bob Binney's double screen boards and some of his migratory covers with some bucket feeders. So I'm actually halfway on the way home. I was like, you know what? I just gave them last week that extra brood box of honey. Now I'm halfway thinking about robbing that off of them and just slapping the bucket to them and letting them go.
Yeah.
And hopefully they don't die out on me.
Well, Bob, that's how I do my queen switching out. I have double screen boards, and I put the cell in the top half, have the queen down at the bottom. When I sell it, I just take her out. I pull the double screen board out.
Okay.
And they're back to a 2-box hive.
And merge all the bees from the top with the bees from the bottom.
Yeah,
and then...
no paper, no nothing. Just take it out. They figure it out.
It's like a cage match?
Yeah, just a little one, maybe.
I know a lot of viewers give me a hard time because in the fall I take all of the honey. I'll even go through the brood box down at the bottom, and if there's a frame that's got honey in there with no brood or anything, I'll take that too. And a lot of people are, they give me a hard time for doing that. But what's that?
Gus Mitchell in Memphis does the same thing. He says he doesn't leave them a drop.
Well, I try not to, and the reason I do that is there's all sorts of studies out there that show that the refined sucrose syrup or table sugar, if you mix your own, is far better on the bee's gut when they can't get out and do a cleansing flight. And like I say, mine, when they go in the barn, at the end of October, beginning of November, they're not coming out until March or April. So I want to do everything I can to keep those bees healthy. So,
are you on singles, James?
I put them into the bee barn with a full-size deep brood box and a medium on top of it, which I plug that right out with sugar. Now, a lot of people are telling me that might be just my inexperience. It might be just simply I don't have enough experience yet. Yeah. But the reason I do that is that sugar and that medium super is cheap insurance for me, so I don't have to worry about my bees starving out. James, do my bees work 16, 18 hours per day in midsummer? Most likely. You know,
no, they're saying do your bees work 16 to 18 hours?
That's what I say. Most likely, you know, I don't have a punch clock, but I would say, yeah, they're flying as soon as it warms up. So I mean, it does get pretty cool, you know, in the evenings up there. But as soon as that box warms up, and I do face all of my hives to the south, so they get the sun first thing, you know, south or southeast. But as soon as they warm up, they're gone, and yeah, it's dusk before they're coming back.
It was good to meet you, man. I'll tell you what, I met so many people at the show, and business cards. I've got a big stack of them. I mean, I'm starting to try to go and put everybody in my phone as contacts, you know. So when the number comes up, if they call me, it's like, oh, okay, I know who that is, and it's not. Oh my God!
Too bad you can't put a picture with the contact in their phone.
Hey, well, check this out. Talk about letting anybody in our streams.
Mike. Mike.
What the hell?
Hey, Mike.
I thought this was the gardening show.
It is. Guys. This is the fertilized section.
The manure section.
Indoor gardening.
Yeah, I was walking by and heard you guys talking about sugar syrup over for overwintering, and yeah, for that us up here, that simplifies life.
Hey, you know, Russell Koopman, who's in the chat, won best of show for his honey.
Wow, great job!
So
good job.
And that, I think in his class, it might have been overall, and then. I know Hail Hives won first place in amber honey. So we got some champions over here. So even the champions like to hang out with us low lives.
I need to get my mug out. But cheers.
So if I understood it right, Russell won second place out of 158 or 159 black box entries.
Yep.
And then I think he was the only one. Russell,
the bug farmer.
He was the only ribbon given to creamed honey. Oh, just lucky. Bull crap, Russell.
Hey, bug farmer, the link is at the top if you want to join us.
Yeah, come on in.
Be nice to have you. Didn't see you at the show. You should have made the trek up to Tennessee. Heck, the state border's yours. There's no excuse. But
gosh.
So I was going to say they have nobody at the border. They let me across.
Yeah.
Wait a sec. Did you come over the Canadian border or the Mexican border?
Well, hey, I can't tell you. The Underground Railroad's the Underground Railroad, man.
Oh, well, you know, they have about the same exchange rate with the U.S. dollar.
Oh, my gosh. So it's nice to see all you guys here. Philip, James, Wayne, and even you, Bob.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, I talked to you last night, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was really nice.
You know, it's interesting, and maybe James and Wayne can. I was excited because I was there kind of as a vendor, even though I didn't have a vendor booth, right? I had my product was there, and it seemed like a lot of people were talking about it there, other than just me. And,
oh no, that they absolutely were. So may have convinced a few people that maybe the swarm rustler was something they should try.
Well, Bob, did you notice Jason's booth, Bohemian Bees? He sold about all those swarm boxes.
Yeah, he bought some
people
more.
Were carrying them out the whole day long.
Oh, did he? Last time I was by there, I think he had 3 more. So it's good to hear he got rid of them too.
Yeah, so we
swarm rustler. I've never heard of that.
You got to work with Jason. That for every box he sells, you get Swarm Commander in there. Part of the deal.
Swarm Commander.
Go that way.
Yeah.
I think Lee was getting $50 every time that Swarm Commander logo just covered the screen.
So Swarm Commander is the competition, guys. The competition.
Swarm Lure.
Rustler. Sorry.
Rustler.
It's all good. Hey, You know what? I actually had a bottle of Swarm Commander with me, and I was letting people smell it and then smell mine as a comparison.
I just lemongrass oil. I've never smelled any of those other things.
That just never sounds good. You know, Bob's walking around the Hive Life conference. Smell this. No, smell this.
James, thank you so much. I didn't want to be the one to bring that up, especially when he's walking around with his hands in his pockets. That just
y'all are so wrong.
Oh, trust me, Bob's giving me such a hard time this weekend, man. The gloves are off.
Every time we stopped at dinner, it was always exchange rate. You started it, actually. I picked up on. I just keep the ball rolling. If somebody starts something that's funny, I just keep it going. You know, like the TikTok girl.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. TikTok Tracy.
Yes. So it was we were sitting in a diner, and a gentleman walks up. He saw all of our lanyards on, and he says, "Hey, my girl just hit 10,000 subs on TikTok. Could you make a big deal like you've seen her when you're walking out, right?" Well, we never got to that stage. She actually walked over to see where he was. And I'm like, "You're that girl from TikTok." And she's like, "Yeah." And she didn't quite get it at that moment, and then after about
the clock was going, and after, what was it? 30 seconds, the light came on.
Yeah. And then after about 4 or 5 times telling her that when I saw her at the show, she's like, we were out smoking a cigarette, and she says, "All right, this is the 5th time. You're an ass." I said, "Okay, so the 6th time makes me the whole, right? So now I'm the whole ass." So, but yeah, I said, "Hey, blame it on him. He's the one who started it. I just kept it going." And so yeah, we just had a good time, man. It was awesome. I was there definitely for the personalities, and makes you feel good when you're talking to somebody and all of a sudden Ian Stepler comes up. Now there's a familiar face. I'm like, "Oh, hey, Ian." And actually, I think I called him Justin Bieber. Did I say Justin Bieber, ladies and gentlemen? And then we're all taking pictures. So yeah, I mean, it's just everybody was joke. Look, Phil says he never got a notification. You guys didn't get a notification? Do you ever think there might be a reason that happens? You were not invited to the party.
I saw the video with Mama, and that's the reason I was hawking and looking out for you. So
yeah, that's the first time I've had my mom on the show.
She's
she actually had a fall today, and the reason I was there late was because my sister left me a message. "Okay, we're leaving the doctors, and I'm taking her home." Okay, well, in my mind, home is here for her, not my sister's home. So like an hour and a half later, she says, "Are you coming to get her tonight?" "Oh, I thought you were talking about you're bringing her home." So yeah, I'll come get her, and then maybe late for this. So
we didn't miss you, just for the record.
I know you guys don't miss me. So, I find there's 2 types of people: those that pick up every time I call, and those that they just put it down.
It's called call screening.
Yeah. Spam risk.
Yeah. Well, I know about a month or so ago when you're putting them out about every day, I'm sitting at work saying, I can't listen to another one at work.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was doing them before I started my job. I was doing them like at lunchtime, like lives at lunchtime while I was going through my bees. And then I stopped all of a sudden, and people are like, "What the hell?" Right. It was lunchtime. We were expecting to see you go live, and then I didn't.
Then you did some in the afternoon. I go, "Oh, man, I can't get to those."
So James, your exchange rate story might explain the experience I had when I was in Niagara Falls. So I just, the falls are beautiful from the Canadian side there in Niagara Falls. So, you have to walk across this long bridge, and then you go up, and it's like really secure on the Canadian side. And there's just a whole row of agents, and they ask you all these questions, and you pay your $1.25 American, and you get in.
That's like 7,000 Canadian.
I was waiting for
it. They ask me all these questions, and you have strip search and all that stuff to get into Canada. So I get into Canada, we go pay pictures from the Niagara side. It was in the winter too, which they're really cool in the winter with all the ice and everything. So we come back across, and when you go into America, there's like this machine where you have to like buy a token or something to put in the turnstile. And there's no agents, nobody cares if you're coming in, all that. So they wouldn't take my money to buy my token to get back in the United States. And I stood there for the longest time, and I was like, what are they going to do when I jump the turnstile? Like legal entry into the country? You know? I just jumped the turnstile and walked in. And you have to walk across the bridge and have to go like a block over. And finally there's some agents, and you walk in and you say, I'm back. And they look at you like, okay. And they just look back down and you walk. It's the exchange rate. They didn't care about the money coming back in.
No.
Getting all those dollars they can on the Canadian side.
Yeah, it's all I can say is without getting too political, our government's got some pretty big issues up there right now. So,
damn Trudeau.
Oh, don't get me started.
Oh, now you got James lit up.
All right, guys.
I didn't mean to go that route with it.
So I did something. You know, you guys say that when I drink meat, I like to give stuff away. So, where is it? It didn't add it. Hold on.
You already gave it away.
Did I give it away? I had a discount code in here, and I don't know why I didn't take it. It's going to be a pretty good one, guys. I think it's like
he's just going to charge everybody Canadian amounts for tonight.
Right.
Oh, that's almost correct. That's almost correct.
1 million free.
Percentage. Oh, that's what I messed up. Wow, it almost wouldn't go up that high. Let me see.
Yeah. So he's like, for a limited time only, you can get your bottle of Swarm Rustler for the low price of $1.6 million Canadian, or you can send $9.99.
Okay, so the code is Hive Life 20. Okay, Hive Life 20 is 20% off anything. Well, there's not much on the website except for Apis Biologics products and the Swarm Rustler. So any of those products save 20% until noon tomorrow. So if that's something you guys want to do, you get 20% at checkout.
Any of you guys use those Apis Biologic products yet?
I do.
I have.
Yeah,
started this last late summer.
Yeah, I've been using them for almost 2 years. I did a bit of a comparison up there. So when they first came out a couple years back, I guess it'd be 2 years back. I literally did half of my hives with it and half of my hives without it. And about, I'm going to say 30, 35 days after, I thought, to heck with this test, because the ones that were getting it were far, far outperforming the ones that weren't. And I just said to heck with it, gave it all to them. They were falling so far behind. So it's quite the product. I don't know what all he's got in there, but it sure does seem to make a difference.
So
now you'll have more honey than you ever need.
I did a thing. So I already had a stockpile of it over here because I'm a distributor, right? But I brought a little bit home with me for the occasion for the spring. So yeah, this is a few $1,000s worth of it.
Oh, I just got the notification that you're going live, Bob.
Oh, well,
it's like an hour late.
Now you can officially see, and we wonder why sometimes the lives do good and sometimes they don't, right? That's why we got to go 6 hours so everybody gets notified.
Oh, hey guys.
Oh, hey, did you just get notified that it's time for a show? That's awesome. Oh, there goes Philip.
Lost him again.
Oh, you just lost your photo,
video feed.
Your video feed there, yeah.
Well, I'm getting up to walk across the room, and I didn't want to make you guys dizzy.
Well, it might have been
Wait for
James.
that.
Like James is probably sitting in his boxers right now.
Yeah, when was that? That was actually that was when I got into Atlanta. Bob and Lee and them invited me on, and of course by that time I'd already crawled into bed, so I quickly threw a shirt on, and yeah, we went through the whole thing. And like I told him at the end, I says it's a good thing I didn't have to get up because I wasn't wearing pants.
It's man, this week is going to be super crazy. I hope because the way I envision this is that people that talk to you during the show that got your cards, they're going to start contacting you over the next little bit of time, right?
Well, interesting enough. So I'm surprised. So I don't have a whole bunch of followers on my YouTube channel. I think when I came down here, I think I was sitting at like 500 and just over 500, in fact, because I've got a video shot that I haven't put up there yet, kind of say thank you to the first 500 subscribers. But I landed in Atlanta of all places. So here's James from Grand Prairie, Alberta, a little tiny country farm boy. And I'm walking across the Atlanta airport to get to pick up my rental car. And people are coming up to me like, oh, hey, you're James McNally with the bees. And they wanted to take a picture, and it blew my mind. It really did. I was like, oh, okay. But my subscribers, just since the Hive Life show and talking to people there, I think I've increased by over 100 to give you an idea how many people are out there and are interested in what we're doing. So it's really kind of overwhelming. So I can't even imagine how it is for people like Cayman and Ian.
Mm-hmm.
I felt a little bit sorry for Ian because I don't think he could take 4 steps in that the vendor area there without.
That's what Mr. Ed said. He couldn't go like 2-3 steps without being stopped for another thing. But hey, what really helps these kind of streams and what helps people grow their channels is for people to share the video. Like on YouTube, there's a share button next to your thumbs up and thumbs down. So if you have a community and you share that, what it's doing is exposing this feed to everybody on your channels. So it becomes a way to kind of network and grow YouTube channels too, because like they'll see people like James and Wayne and Michael, Philip, and all you guys in the chat that join or commenting, and you do grow a little bit, maybe not exponentially, because we have a lot of viewers that watch each other, but there are some that don't.
There's a lot of good in that too if you share those. So, I mean, everybody knows I make a grafting table. That's kind of blown my mind too, how quickly that's taken off. But talking with people at the show about grafting queens, and I've got a couple of videos up there on how I started out. Literally the first time I started out, I've got a video and stuff up there, and people didn't even know it was there. And like I said, the show isn't. Well, I guess it's just 24 hours. Maybe just a little more than 24 hours since it's closed. And people have watched that video probably another 50, 60 times. So sharing those videos a lot of times just gets the information that people are looking for out there. It's amazing. Like I've learned so much about this whole YouTube thing, in the last week down here. That
I've got if you wouldn't mind, I've got a question here. How do we share the live chat notifications?
I think you can only share the actual feed once it's started.
No, because I think somebody else did that, and I can't remember for the life of me how it was. Maybe the notification came up in the.
Like you get the notification that says you're going live. I think you still have to go to the channel and hit that share button underneath your
Well, I'll try that the next time I get a notification. I'll look in the subscribed area there, and it will pop up then. And then I'll put it up on my channel.
I mean, I find with YouTube channels, and we talked about this earlier too, James, people come for the knowledge, but they stay for the personality. And
Absolutely.
there are YouTubers that put out great information, but I don't know what it is, and I'm sure I do this to people too, that it's that you listen to them and there's just something that's like maybe too dry personality or something. I don't know, whatever it is that just doesn't resonate with you as a person. And then I just don't tend to watch their videos. But then there's other people that do videos, and I watch every single one of them. And it's just hey, hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4. We got another. Look at this. It's dancing. The dancing queen. Sawmill Charlie.
Hello, Charlie.
There he is.
Shuffle. That was a
Hey,
good shuffle.
Definitely.
I got a question for you, Bob. I sent your link to a good buddy of mine, Brad. He's wondering how long we're going to be on here. I told him if he wanted to join us, by all means.
Oh yeah, tell him to come on. Yeah, well, these things can go for days. I mean, definitely have to get back to work tomorrow, but it's not I'm not gonna log off real quick. So Fred,
You talking about that man, James?
No. So Brad with Faith Avery's.
But yeah,
yeah,
his
he was
channel's that B man, isn't it?
No, he that's somebody different. So Brad is with Faith Avery's. He's up in Manitoba.
Yeah, well, I watch him all the time. Yeah, he does the blogs, the weekly blogs.
Exactly. Yeah, he's a bit of a mentor of mine. So he's one of the individuals that I met almost a year ago.
He's also a friend of Ian's.
Absolutely. Well, I think Ian is his mentor, to be honest with you.
But James, back to your crafting table.
Yep.
I think you talk about donating it. I don't think I've ever watched the video of you making it or presenting it. But then when you went through the silent auction,
yeah,
all I was waiting for was for you to get to your.
I left it at the end. I saved the best for last.
And then when you got to it, and it was right there on the featured table with the signed hives, I mean, that was impressive. That really was. I mean,
it blew my mind on that one too. So
you should be surprised that you're getting a lot of attention on that, because that was quite.
So I have to tip my hat to Cayman on that one too. So I actually sent those down to Cayman probably, I'm going to say 4 or 6 months ago. And I'm not sure what happened, whether it was a mistake on my end or a mistake on UPS's end or whatever, but they ended up getting sent to somebody other than Cayman. So just through working with UPS and working with Cayman, he managed to track them down. And if you saw that video, I mean, they were custom engraved for the Hive Life conference for 2023. Mm-hmm. If we wouldn't have been able to find them, they wouldn't have been, well, I mean, it's still a grafting table, but they wouldn't have had the same significance as they would for this year. And the reason I sent those down is
it would have been really valuable in the black market.
True. But the reason I sent those down is because the youth program that Cayman's got going on there really, really impresses me. So that's the thing that I think is missed far too often is those youth are our future beekeepers. And anything I can do to support those, I think is an absolute fabulous idea. So those tables ended up selling for, I think it was more than double what I normally sell them for. So I tried to get both individuals. So I apologize if the second individual that got the second table, he picked it up after. I waited there for probably 45 minutes to an hour just to get that individual on my YouTube channel as well. So I apologize to him, but the first individual that won the one with the drawer, I made a point of making sure that I thanked her, for supporting the youth and of course Hive Life, because things like that really to me are priceless. I mean that I'll work with Cayman going forward, and I'll make sure that I can support at least one youth there every year going forward, as long as I can work it, I guess.
That's the same reason why, with Grayson, when I found Grayson's YouTube channel. He had 20 subs, and I invited him to come on our stream. And in the video I saw that he was doing wasn't like, hey, this is the frame of bees. It was the difference between a bee haver and a beekeeper. That was his topic at 13 years old. And I'm like, hell yeah, he rocks with me. Let's bring him in, you know? So he came in. He didn't even, we said, are you going to the Hive Life conference? He says, what's that? You know, he hadn't even heard of it. And then he was at the show this weekend, him and his little brother. And then I had mentioned, Vincent was there too. And I mentioned Curtis, the junior beekeeper, on the stream before, and he was there.
I subbed to him after you did that. I'm not sure.
And he was at the show. He hung out in our area quite often. Matter of fact, our live streams you could see him in the background a lot with the red Hive Life shirt on. And, you know, it's just an awesome thing that, like you said, you know, guys, we're getting old. You know, we're only going to be able to do this so many, you know, I hate to say it, but our days are numbered, you know, and these are the guys that are going to move it forward for us.
I was fortunate enough. I sat down at one of the tables for one of the discussions, or one of the talks, and I was fortunate enough. I sat down with one of the youth that won, and just kind of talking and quizzing her up and stuff like that. Now her family were all there, but she was 15 years old, and just talking with her, extremely knowledgeable. Like, I mean, she is set up for success if we can just convince these youth to stay in it and stick with it and go forward. So, yeah, it's absolutely awesome.
Well, did you catch the live feed when we had Bob Benny on it? I asked him, I said, I
wasn't one of the cool kids.
Oh, you know, we still let you play in the barnyard games there.
Back home caught it.
And he said, I asked him, I said, well, what is a nugget that probably doesn't make it in your videos that you would give as advice to beekeepers? And they said, just stay with it. Persistence. Yep. He said,
his way he puts it. Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, because, you know, you're going to have a couple bad years. They might even be a couple bad years together, back to back. And you don't know if you come in and you have a great year, you'll be hooked. But sometimes it takes 2 or 3 years to get to that good year.
You know, my first year, I lost my hives. You know, I lost them all. The second year, I managed to keep them alive. But one of the key things that was the Bug Farmer's hive heaters that helped me keep my bees alive. The second year, third year, I don't know. Maybe that was the third year. But it wasn't that the heaters. The heaters were what made up for my lack of knowledge, if you will, right? They gave me that gap, or that time period, for me to learn what I had to learn, you know. And I still use those heaters today. I mean, those things are great up there. Like I'd mentioned to Bob and Charlie, I've got those heaters going, and I make sure I drop drone cones in there. So I've got drones very early in the year. And it's really kind of a key to success to me getting my queens as going as early as I can. So just things like that. I mean, I don't know if that's how the Bug Farmer decided to try and use them. Well, I just take something and use it.
See, I need him to come in. He needs to come in, because I've kind of challenged his thought process on this live stream.
Yep.
And trust me, it wasn't negative. It was more of wanting to know where his line of thought was, so I could kind of come to it, you know?
Yeah.
Because he's probably not very different geographically from me being in center of South Carolina and him being in Georgia. So
I'm interested to see as to what triggered him to invent those things in the first place. I mean, it was genius. I honestly think it was absolutely genius.
Well, I mean,
they've been around for a while. I've seen them up here like 10, 15 years ago, but I think a real kick here is that insulate your hives. If you know how to insulate your hives, you know, and control the flow and whatnot. James, I've got a friend of mine that's on the other side of the lake here. does all of his in 4-packs. Heat and wraps them up and goes from there. Now, Russell Cooperman has actually got one of the better outfits, and he followed that fella that's way deep in Canada. He has a French name, and that's really interesting. It's all of my hives are insulated. I mean, even the bare wood, I've got it painted with thermocells, and that would really benefit all you Southern guys a lot more than it would James and I, and so on. But every bit of insulation that you can get on there, go for it. Just my 2 cents. I'm gonna have to go out to Russell's and have him shoot a short video clip on it. He doesn't upload anything, but it works. He kind of copied to a point the who's that guy that Vino Farms? And and I did a rig like that with the quilt board on top.
The bee barns.
Bee barns.
No, not the bee barns. Heavens no, not the bee barns.
His last one was all about foam boxes, wasn't it?
No. This is
he's right.
He completely revamped that whole bee barn idea, got rid of the wood, and basically, if you sit there and you look at it, it's
a poly hive.
It's a poly hive. That's what he's got
with deeper frames.
No, this is before that, guys. Just taking a regular bee box and wrapping it with 2 inches of.
He had that styrofoam insulation.
Yeah, he had me really laughing out my butt here when he initially did it, because he left the front open. His reasoning was, well, the sun will warm it up. I'm like, there isn't that much sun in the winter. What the hell are you doing? He went back there and wrapped them up. But just back to insulation. And again, it's regional. That's my big kicker. But anyways, I just wanted to inject that. And thinking about you up there, James, if you, you get colder than I do.
Yeah, it was, what the heck was it on, I think it was Friday. What was it? -40. I think I showed you guys.
Yeah.
My wife sent me down a picture there of it. And I think it was -40. I think is what it was. So, of course, everybody was trying to get the conversion done, and that's the only one that actually worked for both Canada and the U.S.
Hey,
thank you. Thank you.
Hey.
Wow.
I mean, so I think this Hive Life conference is going to be a pretty big topic for probably a few weeks, at least afterwards.
There was so much.
Oh yeah, it was crazy.
Charlie got away early, so I'm drinking hot lemon tea and honey out of the cup that I was going to give you. So,
okay.
So, James, you said that you were trying to get Brad to come on, but now that I built you up about everything else, you said he's not known as That Bee Man.
No, he's known as Faith Apiaries.
His channel, I just looked it up on my TV here. It's That Bee Man at Faith Apiary.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
He's that good of a friend to you. Come on now.
Yeah, actually, if you go back, take a look on Brad's channel and on mine. This spring I drove over to. Actually, I was going to drive over.
See now, which it's a possibility for sure.
I was driving over. I was going to pick up a bunch of stuff from Dancing Bee, and the plan was to stop in and see Ian and to see Brad.
I thought Dancing was Charlie, but okay, go ahead.
I was going to say that the flood hit him again. His Ian's video and Brad's videos really don't show the justice as to what they got hit with. It really doesn't. So, I'm drinking warm Eagle Rare. Nice. But when I was driving over there, the Trans-Canada Highway. So it's nothing like what you guys have down here for an interstate, but the Trans-Canada Highway, the water was right up to the pavement on the highway. And you would look across the fields on both sides, and you thought you were driving on a causeway across the lake. But the only way you knew it wasn't a lake is, there'd be a tractor out in the middle of the field. Or, you look half a mile over and you'd see the row of trees and the bluff.
That was rough.
Their videos, they looked bad, but they really did not show the whole magnitude of what they got hit with. I'm from the prairies, and I was absolutely appalled. Like there was fuel stations that were shut down because they were underwater. I remember walking into one service station. They had above ground tanks, and they were still operational. But I was walking through the store in rubber boots, like there was an inch of water on the whole floor, and it just came in, that night. It just, like I said, it just really didn't show the devastation that those guys got hit with. It was absolutely amazing, like nothing I've ever seen.
So, Michael, I see your comment here. Unfortunately, I'm like starting over down to one hive. However, I'm going to give you a ray of sunshine, but I'm going to make James tell you how many splits he made out of his colonies this year to get him up to where he needed to be this year.
Well, I put 78 hives into the barn this year, and I started the beginning of the year with 15. So I put 78 of my own hives in. I should make sure I stipulate that. So they all came from those 15 hives. Now I also, if you follow my videos, I also have at the beginning of the year I bought 35 hives with a partner. So I have those on top of it. And those, what we did is that was strictly a, how do I put this one? That was strictly a financial test, if you will. So out of those 35 packages that we bought at the beginning of the year, 27 of those we put into the bee barn. They got split multiple times so that they're pretty much in the black as well. So, you only got one hive. Yeah, you're looking at it the wrong way. You still have
there
one.
you go. Hey, Bob, get him by some of that rustler. Catch some swarms.
Catch some swarms.
But if you've got one, so Ian's got a really, really good video. So if you have one strong hive, you can very easily and very quickly turn that into 3. Like, go and check his channel. Yeah. He's got a really good video of how he splits his nucs. I think it might be a couple years old now, but he goes through it, how he does it. And like I said, just don't look at it as you only have one hive. Look at it as you got 1, 2 to build from. So don't look at it as a negative thing. You still got one. That's a good thing.
James, you want to take that?
I was thinking the same thing. So I do make, for my hives, I make all of my own queens. For those packages that we bought, we purchased queens for those. So all of my nucs and everything that I sell are all my own queens. I graft all my own queens. So they all came from genetics from some breeder queens that I bought. Everybody kind of laughed at me on that one a little bit too, but you spend $1,200 US. What is that? 5.2 Canadian.
Yeah, 5.2 million.
But so all of my genetics have come from those 2 breeder queens right now.
That's awesome. But it just, you got to think of it at your scale, right? At your level. If your goal is going from 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, that's very achievable, right? So just don't give up hope and keep going.
Well, and don't give up, because if you watch my channel, actually January of last year, I put a video out where I was moving out of the hobby into the sideline. And my goal was, at that point in time, was to take the hives that I have and put 25 hives into the barn, this winter. And I don't know whether I stumbled on it. I will be honest. I watched a lot of Ian's videos. I've watched a lot of grafting videos. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of commercial beekeepers that I can go to for experience. Brad's probably tired of me messaging him, because I do use him as a reference lots. And I just started grafting, and I started going, and I split. And when the hive got good, big enough to split again, I split them again and again and again. And from those original hives, I put 78 strong hives into the bee barn. And I think I don't even remember how many nucs. I think there's 12 nucs. So,
well, hey, James also has the honor of the funniest story that I've heard in beekeeping at the conference. Now, I'm not saying I heard them all, but this is the funniest one that I heard.
Well, everybody got a good laugh out of that one. I think Charlie got a good laugh out of that one too. So because I'm splitting so often, I've got queens in the mating nukes at all the time. So normally I use my 6 frame nuke boxes on my pallets. I got that idea from Ian and Brad. That's not my idea either, but I also have some of the old styrofoam mini mating nukes, and of course I got them all painted up nice. I like my apiary and I like my equipment to look sharp.
This is a good one.
so they're all painted up. I've got 4.
That guy.
One's bright green, one's bright yellow, one's bright red, and the other one's bright blue, and they're all painted up and they're looking smart, right? So the night before I go to my backyard, I've got my breeding mating or my cell builder and stuff like that in the backyard. They had extra bees, so I went out there, grabbed a cup of bees out of each one of them, and threw a cup of bees into each one of these boxes, right? So left them overnight. So now they're queenless overnight. Throw them in the back of the truck, and it's like it was probably like 28 degrees Celsius, right? So I'm hot, the bees are hot, they're grumpy, they're queenless. So as I'm driving in the truck, I thought I'm just going to stop by the Circle K, and I'm going to grab myself a slushie. So pull up right to the door, run in, grab my slushie, come running back out, and I just hear this guy around the corner going, "Ah, ah!" And I thought, what in the Sam? So I quickly throw my slushie in my cup holder, and I go around the corner, and here's this guy standing there. One of my mini mating nukes is open laying on the floor or on the ground. There's another one right beside him that's still closed up, and he's got bees hanging from his nose and his ears and eyes. And for this one split second,
man,
I was instantly mad, and then I couldn't help it. I was laughing. I was thinking that was the best use of 300 bees or whatever was in that cup I ever had. And he, I asked him, I said, "What'd you steal them out of the back of my truck for?" "I didn't steal them." Well, by this time, they're on his ears and his hands, and his eyes are starting to swell close. It was hilarious. Closed up the boxes, threw them in the back of the truck, and got out of Dodge.
What were those styrofoam boxes?
Yeah.
The little queen styrofoam ones.
He thought there was booze in those boxes.
You know it. Yeah.
Part of me wanted to go refill them and go to the next Circle K. But
That was funny. I would have had cams up. I would have had like a backup cam or something to catch the action.
Oh man!
Like I say, I didn't feel sorry for the individual. I don't have a lot of time for thieves or stuff like that. But like I say, that was. I think I was still laughing.
Funny.
Days after.
Oh yeah, we had some good mead. Really good mead.
Any of that.
You didn't get any of his mead?
No.
That's because they kept going outside and taking shots all day long. Hey, Jason, I just wanted to say thank you while we're here, 1-to-1, on representing my product at the show. I appreciate you, brother. It was awesome to see you in action and the beautiful setup you had there and all of the gear. I wish my truck had a top on it because I was about to load up some stuff. And
you did.
Well, I loaded up on some stuff, but I
spent a lot of money down there.
Yeah, I did. Matter of fact, I haven't even paid for all of it. This couple $1,000s worth of Apis is a bill waiting coming in my email this week, I'm sure. All right, thank you, Bug Farmer. I appreciate that for sure.
Well, did you tell him what you bought down there?
I did. I showed him one of them. Some of the guys weren't on yet, but I'll show it again.
Oh, you bought that? Yeah, I was thinking about buying that.
So it's 12 volt.
Yeah.
And, it's got the little on-off toggle switch there. It's a little blue toolbox with a temperature gauge in it. Temperature, what is it? What's the appropriate term for it, James?
It is a temperature controller.
Temperature controller, and it holds 45 queen cells.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go to pick up queen cells from the breeder at the beginning of the season, I can keep them warm on that hour trip back from them.
Yeah, because the guy from Wisconsin and Florida, the queen rearing guy, Chris Warner,
Yeah.
He said that was very, very important to keep them cells warm.
39.5 degrees.
Canadian.
Celsius.
Or 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
93.
What else did I buy down there that I can show you guys? Well, it's just
what about that big expensive box that you were carrying around?
Yeah, but I didn't open it. But I'll show. I mean, hold on.
I think that might have been his bottling thing there.
Yeah,
I'm not going to stand
impulse buy.
What's that, Phil?
That was his impulse buy.
You mean this box?
Yeah.
No, the other one, Bob. The other one.
That's not
pretty
big.
heavy. So this was an impulse buy, a $1,500 impulse buy.
I thought it was 16.
Well, yeah, $1,598. Shh, don't tell the wife. She'll get mad about that 98, that 1,500. You know, that's something else. But it was kind of funny because I was trying to work and I wanted to buy stuff at the same time. And I walk around the corner there and the lady's giving a demonstration on it. And there's a bunch of people watching the demonstration. And I watched it for a few minutes and I said, sold. And they all kind of looked at me like, who the hell's this guy? Right. And she finished her demonstration. She looked at me, were you serious? I said, hell yeah, I'm not fucking around. I'm here to do business. Let's go. And and the guys were like, I was thinking about getting it. I said, well, you might as well get it. Let me see. I'll open it up. It's an unboxing video too, guys.
Hey, Bob. Now, who did you buy it from and who's the manufacturer?
I bought it from Bailey Bee Supply.
North Carolina.
Out of North Carolina. And they actually have a video on this on their site, I guess.
And who makes it?
Probably Yingling Chinese factory. I don't know.
Yeah, I believe so.
And yeah, it says made in China, very clear right inside the packaging. Well, the U.S. ones and the licensed ones are much, much more. Let me see if I can not lose everything out of the pack. But you see, it's got some nice hose right there. Oh crap! This thing's
Gotta be a honey pump.
Yeah.
Kinda of a honey pump.
Why don't you just show? You got a picture of it, Bob? Just let it
No,
go.
I don't have a picture of it. Hold on. Yeah, I'm not. I can get it out of here. Maybe in about 20 minutes.
Hey, everyone. While he's messing around there, I'm going to sign out.
Hey, thanks.
See you later.
Everybody be good.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Tom.
So it has a scale that goes on top of it here. And it by the weight, you tear out the jar and it fills up the honey jars by the weight. So it was pretty impressive when I was watching it, and it didn't drip, and it was pretty accurate because she took the bottle off of the scale, and it was she was filling up 2-ounce bottles or something, so it was like right on point. But
I have questions now. So how does it control does it have to be with a certain bottler?
do what? No, you take the hose, you can put it right in your 5-gallon pail.
It'll suck and pump.
It sucks it out and pumps it right into
really?
it. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that video.
it's got a gear pump on it.
Yeah, the guy told me about when I met him the night before. He said that you had to fill the hose up, to get it primed, and then it'll suck it right out.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see. I've already had people messaging me, hey, if you're going to get rid of that pneumatic valve, I'd be interested in buying it. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if I'll get rid of the pneumatic valve.
Is that for honey, Bob, or is that for your swarm lure?
No, it's honey.
That's for honey. He's got one for swarm lure.
Yeah, it's for the honey. I'm just trying to
stop and think. So I don't have anything like that up in Canada, of course, in order to retail it. The clause up there say, so if my bottles are marked 14 ounces, I have to ensure that there is at least 14 ounces in there. So what I end up finding myself is 14 ounces, for example, on this bottle. I don't know if you guys can see it. So 14 ounces is actually right at this rim, which is
Right.
it's overfilled. So I end up overfilling all the bottles because I do not have a certified scale. So I end up giving all my customers just a little bit extra. But if I had something like that, then that would, you stop and think half an ounce in every jar, times 30. You're losing a lot of money, right?
Yeah. I weigh all my bottles when I give out. They're all weighed. I mean, I just have a regular ounce scale that, I pretty much, I mean, you can go by the fill line on a 1 pound plastic. The fill line location is pretty accurate. The 2 pounder and 3 pounder, they are not accurate. They're actually below the fill line.
What does that scale go up to, Bob?
Now you're asking. Oh, I think they said you could do up to like a 5 pound container.
Oh, nice.
So,
what did you pay for that? Somebody wants to know in the chat.
$1,598 including tax.
There you go.
No shipping because I picked it up. So, but
Beef.
this is the phone number to Apis Engineering. If it's not on their website, I'd give them a call and see if they have any in stock. Did I get loud?
Hey, James.
Yes, sir.
I'm not above the cheap joke. Is that 14 ounces Canadian?
14 ounces Canadian, 245 grams here for the U.S.
But that, what I found is.
Oh, wait, before you go from there, our gallon is larger than the U.S. gallon. Just poke.
Yep.
But aren't you doing like liters?
Yeah. Yeah, we had that conversation too. So their gallon is larger than ours, but they pay for the same amount per liter as we pay per gallon, right?
Oh, I filled my car up with fuel this morning, and we're paying at home. It is $1. The heck was it? It's $1.42 a liter, and there's 3.78 liters per gallon. So yeah, your fuel price is down there. We're sitting on it in Alberta, but the government is taxing us so bad up there that our fuel price is almost twice what you guys are paying.
Yeah, that Alberta tax situation up there is just insane on fuel. As if that's going to keep China from polluting. I don't know. I'm sorry. James, I got a question here for you. So you got bee drop, and all of us winter beekeepers, we have it.
Yep.
Do you ever just scrape out the bottom and do mite washes on your bee drop?
So I haven't done a mite wash on my bee drop. That's never really thought of that. I can't at this point. I won't get into why.
He's got something top secret. I'll put it to you that way, Mike.
We're discussing it a little bit. So
thank you, Charlie.
I'm one of how did Ian call it? I'm one of those cowboys.
I told him he's one of them Canadian cowboys. Now go back, watch that video.
So, like I said, how do I put this? I respect all the traditional ways, but I value the science that we have access to nowadays. And like I said, I'm hoping every single mite that I have in my bee barn is dead at the bottom of the chambers here right now. So we'll see. We'll see how I come out of winter. If I come out of winter really good, then I'll kind of let everybody know what I did. But yeah, I've got a little bit of an experiment that I've been working on. It's an expensive experiment. It was it cost me about $7,800 to try this experiment. But if I can kill every mite, it might be something that might go longer.
Well, it's going to be really interesting to see how you regulated the level of gas. That's all I'm going to say.
So,
one thing I want to encourage everybody to do here in the audience and so on. I'm going to take off here, but if you have a dead out over the the winter and comes out, do a mite wash on those dead outs. You can do that. We do that every year, and it's very telling.
Don't run off quite yet, Mike. I got something there. I just got it off the internet.
And you might want to stick around. So, Bob, Brad's going to jump in here.
Okay, great.
Hey, I'd like to just point out, I think there's a difference in mites in a dead out and difference in mites in just bee drop. Because I think mites that are in bee drop climb back up.
Absolutely.
In a dead out, they don't have any choice. They're down there with whatever dies out.
Yeah. No, it doesn't really mean a whole heck of a lot, Philip, but it's interesting to watch, for your winter bee drop. But
I think there would be a lot of data in that too to give you an idea of what percentage your mite level was going into winter, or how much it grew from your last wash.
If there was robin involved.
Well, that's a different story too.
Actually, why don't we just accumulate the data and not try and figure out what's going on, but just get a good record of it. So
there we go.
Charlie, what were you going to do?
Here he is.
Good evening, Brad.
Oh, hey there.
We hear you, but we don't see you.
You're on. Turn your video on, Brad.
I'm vindicated. Thank you, Brad.
Oh, lost him.
Says device is not connected. So I'm sure he'll come right back.
He might not be able to turn his video on. I'm not sure. So sometimes he has a bit of a hard time where he's at.
That's right.
Even the internet doesn't reach to Canada all the time.
It's frozen.
Well, it's cold when your electricity freezes. Oh, that's clever.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
Okay.
Pretty remote area.
There he is.
There he is.
We got you.
Do we have audio?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Welcome to
I
the
want to hear
stream.
the honey pour.
Fantastic.
No, thanks.
So they wanted to see this video here real quick. Let me see if I can get it to play. So that's the machine I've just bought.
Sweet. Nice.
So actually, he just primed it, so he's getting air out of the system right now. So let's see if I can speed it up so you can see the real use here. Of course, he's talking, and we don't want to hear him talk because you got my beautiful voice to listen to during the during this.
Bank robbing gloves on.
Bank robbing gloves.
Where's that feeding from?
A 5-gallon bucket.
Oh, he does have that hooked up to a bucket. Okay.
Yep. So like the lids that have the painter, the hole in it. They just run the tube right in there.
Okay. So that's what he's doing there. I like the little yin yang button in the bottom center.
Well, yeah,
China.
It is from China, like everything else we buy that's remarketed as American.
Back to work.
It looks like some kind of medical.
Okay.
Yeah. So wait a minute. Why is it? Just hit the button. We just want to see it pour. Just watch honey pour. So he's setting it. I guess. What's he doing? Who cares? Hit the button. Just hit the button already. Let's go. Chop, chop. So I'll watch this video like 5 times before I have to.
I think he's tearing the weight out.
No, you won't. You're going to hook it up.
And fill honey everywhere.
And you get honey all over the place, and then you'll watch the video to figure out how to set it up.
More than likely.
That's how we're wired.
More than likely.
We want you to record it though, so you can play it back to us.
Oh, I show you. It'll be live. You guys will see it flowing over live.
We do have a live problem we're trying to intervene on here.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Wow, that thing cut off like.
And then you notice there's no drip.
That's an interesting end on that.
Must have some like reverse suction on it or something.
Yeah, look at the end.
That yin and yang is manual and automatic, right? So, and then watch the end of it. It closed up. It sucked it back in, right?
That's pretty impressive.
So, and then, boom, it figures the weights on there and starts automatically. So you don't have to start it up every time. So was it worth $1,500? Don't know.
Maybe.
That's up to your bees. Can they make enough to?
By
Hey.
God, they better, or we're gonna get some new ones. Isn't that what James said?
the girls don't want to produce. They're out of
How
there.
many pounds are you packing a year?
Oh, that's a bad question for me. We'll let James answer that question for us.
Oh, I don't know what he's packing. They were laughing at me, Brad. So
Are we talking about Canadian or American? That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Earlier this year, they were asking
the conversion rate.
I was going to say earlier this year they were asking how much honey my girls made, and of course I told them, I says, well, I didn't get a whole lot because I mean I had so many splits and stuff, so I only ended up with about 3,800 pounds.
Well, you
and
know,
of course
all
they all
ones.
started laughing at me.
Yeah.
But, I actually think that was a lot of honey, but
Yeah.
The thing of it is when I tell people they look at me or like Bob spent $1,600, I say always convert it into pounds of honey. And here in the United States, it's average of 10 pounds or $10 per pound. So all he has to do is sell 160 pounds and it's paid for.
yeah. How did your girls do this year, Brad?
Not as good. My yield was below average. My average yield is pretty low for Manitoba. So the Manitoba average yield is 170 pounds. And don't forget that these people are sitting on hundreds of acres of canola, and the long summer days and all that kind of stuff. So a guy like Ian will surpass that by quite a bit. And like talking a really smoking crop, Manitoba would be 300 pounds. Guy like Ian would be 250. My forage is more of I call it a clover and wildflower forage, and I'm just in a hayland, marshland area. Makes spectacular honey, but my average yield is only about 100 pounds.
Well, Brad, what was your weather?
Yeah, it was crappy. That was the whole thing, and my yield was below that, so it was 90 pounds or so. I think my entire crop was about 6,500 pounds. So that's kind of low. I don't know if I'll be running short this year or not, but I'm usually bringing 8,000 to 12,000 pounds in a year, and that'll keep me going, keep my stores and customers supplied at that.
Well, and how many colonies is that, Brad?
Well, like I say, I average 100 pounds, so 10,000 pounds off of 100 good solid colonies, and I'm always trying to make splits and increase and all that kind of stuff. So whatever I pull apart and pull down and make splits and whatnot to increase my numbers, then that's not going to produce 100 pounds. But I try and keep my queens fresh, so I try not to let my queens get too old. So I do a lot of that.
And that's kind of what my year was. So I came into the spring. Now, listening to James, I feel like a total idiot on the way that he was able to grow his colonies. But I kind of, I didn't graft any queens this year. So that was one thing, but I came out of winter with 12 colonies, and then I did splits too early. And basically, if I'm doing 3 frame splits down here, that's taking 3 total colonies, right, out of my existing colonies. So, and none of the early splits made it. They all perished.
Why?
Well, it was 75 degrees on Wednesday here, Fahrenheit, and then it snowed on Saturday. And then the next Wednesday, it was 75 degrees, and then it snowed again. So
what month are you doing this, and where are you exactly?
I'm in South Carolina. So the rule of thumb down here is typically they start doing splits from mid-February to the first week in March. Right. Well, I did mine closer to the mid-February point, and then we got the snows afterwards. And
so if you'd have waited a month, then your outcome would have been very different.
And Bob, put those double screen boards into use there, buddy.
Yeah, I bought some at the show. But the thing is that after doing that, well, now I'm starting with 9 hives, and then I split those out, right? So I did grow, and at one point during the summer, I was at 60 colonies, and I was basically, I did a few things. I sold some nucs. I bought some queens and resold them because nobody here had queens. So this year it's a little bit different after all these bee chats, and getting queen cells instead of the queens. And I've got a ton of 2-frame mating nucs. Just gonna, at the very beginning of the season, get queen cells, hatch them out, breed them, get them mated, come back, and then start grafting, because I don't want my success to rely on my own grafting skill the first year of grafting. So
yeah, I don't disagree with that. When I started out, I certainly didn't rely on my ability to make queens. My ability to make queens my first year or two was finding a swarm cell and putting it in a box. That was about my queen rearing prowess.
Hey, that's a great way to start, though.
Absolutely, and for a new beekeeper, it's a really good introduction to, wow, look what can happen. Like when you open that box and you see some eggs, you just think, man, that's Christmas morning. That's awesome.
Okay, hey guys, I gotta run. Y'all take care. Have a grand night.
Okay,
Mike. See you.
Talk to you later.
Nice seeing you all.
Take
care.
So I want to tell you my impressions of Brad. So he's my second favorite Canadian beekeeper.
Second favorite. James is the first.
Second favorite. James is the first, right?
I just got punted to third place.
might be moving up to third after tonight. Actually, after James' coverage of the Hive Life, that was fantastic. Those videos you put out, James, were unbelievable. For us people who couldn't go.
You know what I noticed about James's videos? I didn't make any of them. I wasn't in any of them.
That's because of the.
That's why they were so great.
Oh, he's not your second favorite beekeeper.
That's right. What happens, right?
But I noticed. I know you guys are thinking I'm thinking of Ian, but I like Phil the Bee Man's content he puts out. That's really interesting. But anyway, Brad. The thing I like about Brad is he puts out content. We're in Central Time, but like when I get up, as early as I get up, 5 or 6 o'clock on Saturday morning, he's got fresh new video out. It's like donuts to me. And sit down and watch that. And I know there's only like 10 of us, Canadian and American, watching his videos that early in the morning. But I watch him replace his windows in his cars. So yeah.
And I get to see the analytics, and you are not alone. That first hour between 6 and 7 a.m., there's massive hits. So a lot of people waking up expecting a video.
It's like okay, I'm going to come here and watch Brad's video. So don't stop doing that, Brad.
They're pretty boring these days, but hopefully they'll pick up soon.
Because I'm one of those 10 watching your videos that early.
I'll tell you for sure. I'll look that up and I'll tell you. Let's see.
I know I get up, I start my fireplace, I grab my iPad, pour a cup of coffee, and I'm looking to see what Brad's done in the last week.
See, all you need to do is incorporate that into the beginning of your video, and you have half of Ian Stepler's video process down to a science.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Ian. I gave him a hard time. So this at the Hive Life was the first time I met Ian. So and it was funny because I'd go around and I would be trying to shoot a video or something like that, and then all of a sudden you'd be looking at the camera and everybody behind me disappeared, and I'd turn over, there's Ian. So I'd go off to the next place and I'd start trying to get a video going and everybody disappeared. He finally came around the corner. I was like, oh, it's not that Ian guy again. I said, everybody forgets about the rest of us Canadian people with him around.
Yeah, I love hearing people tell Ian stories and met Ian and talk about what they think of Ian. That's really, really awesome.
Ian's been on the stream before.
Oh, yeah.
Once. Yeah, he came on one time.
Yeah. He's a pretty generous guy. I really appreciate his friendship.
The streams like this, I know we're cutting up a lot tonight, but we have a lot of, I guess what Charlie likes about this stream is, at least he said it, that we don't just talk about stuff like Varroa mite treatments or, the everyday, this is how you install a package or this or that. We're not opposed to talking about that stuff, but we try to take it one step a little bit further sometimes.
Intermediate to advanced type stuff. Now, Brad,
sure.
I think I was texting you over your Hive lifter, and James
Oh, here we go.
James here. I've been picking his brain all weekend.
The damn hive lifter.
The bloody hive lifter. Backsaver 6100.
And you got the dolly style.
Yeah.
And then he was telling me that you said that you got to be a strapping fella to be able to kind of handle that machine.
I am not a small man, and it definitely makes you pay attention to keep control of it. Especially, I try not to get more than 2 boxes on it because.
And you're talking about deeps, I guess, right?
Yeah, there's no mediums.
Okay.
You know what? I do have a few mediums for special purposes, but as a rule, I don't run mediums.
All right, now I was watching.
That's the one weird thing I've noticed between Canada and US is US is almost exclusively mediums for supers, and Canada is almost exclusively deeps for supers.
Well,
It's
now when
really
it comes to
strange.
commercial, it's pretty much deeps,
Yeah.
But I was watching your one video. I think you were putting in like skateboards, and that unit that you were having, it was leaking down on you. Is that because it's wore out or what?
No, well, I don't know. It has
problem?
started to sink a little more as I use it. I've used it, I don't know, 3 seasons maybe now, and it has started doing that a bit more. I started looking really close at it, and there is kind of a break on it. It's got the winch on it does have a bit of a break, but it's got no way for me to really control it. I have figured out how to control it kind of in a kind of a rudimentary fashion. I stick my hive tool in it and just pry on it a bit, and that'll hold it. But that doesn't help me any because I need to get down, as you know, in that video. I need to get down.
I guess
and put
my
that
question
V-escape
is,
in.
yeah, my question is it's like I was talking to James, and I'm doing well. The hives behind me are my honey hives, and what I was doing single brood chamber management. I want to pull the honey off. I'm going down in there and I'm checking the amount, how much brood's in there, and I'm equalizing throughout the honey season, which it's like, I know the commercial guys don't do it constantly, but anyway, I'm looking at buying either most likely like the one James has, and you had mentioned that you didn't have enough room for that style of lifter.
Well, I would have to really change what I'm doing layout wise in a big way to use that one. It's very long, and I even find the one I have restricts me a little bit when I'm trying to get around in my apiary. I just have to set things up differently.
Well, now when you raise with your unit, when you raise it up, does it kind of kick back and sit there by itself?
Yeah, it'll sit there. It'll sit there. It's surprising how well it balances. He's done a good job of that, and it'll balance almost anywhere in the lift range, kind of depending on how many boxes you have on it. But it'll sit there for sure.
I know that. I mean, the one that the hive lifter number 2 that James has. I mean, some of the advantages with that, you have to have it up in the air for it to sit back down on them back wheels, but you also can run up to your pickup truck if that's what you're using to haul your supers with, and actually lay it down on the tailgate, where yours is a little bit more. I
was putting my supers on my trailer summer before last with that unit, and that got them on the trailer, but that was all. Then I had to hoist the machine onto the trailer to stack them on the trailer.
Okay.
If I didn't want to lift them by hand, because it only set it along the edge, right?
Right.
I like it. I wouldn't buy the one James has, but only because it's I would have to change what I'm doing a lot.
But you've got your tractor to help you out for
absolutely.
Some of those.
Yeah,
I don't have the tractor, so.
Right, and that's what it comes down to. What you need. I'm glad he makes more than one model.
Well,
yeah, I mean, I guess like that's like I asked Ian about. He was on a live chat where I was at. Anyway, I said, "Why don't you just get a skid loader like most of the American commercial guys?" And he said, "Well, he has them college kids with the hive lifter set up. He can have, like some young girl that was like, he said he was working for it, like 90 pounds, and she can
Yeah.
run all that kind of stuff. And it's because of the labor. That's why he has it that way.
Would be a far shorter training session on the easy loader than a skid steer.
Yeah. I mean,
sure.
you got to have,
Besides,
well,
they
the
have
way
strong
he
backs.
manages hives is you could probably knock more hives over with a skid loader than you
Yeah.
could with an easy loader.
Oh, I've done with my tractor, man. Sometimes I get things wrong, and I don't know. It was not last fall, but the fall before. I ended up bringing my bees in from the yard in the fall after a snow, and it had snowed quite a bit. There was a good probably 4 to 6 inches of snow out there, and I had the little pallets, and I had to take the forks and go down because the snow was built up like this. I had to put the forks down under the pallet, like kind of like that, right? Well, the first one or two I was learning how to do this kind of thing, and I ended up putting the forks down there, and of course you have to raise and do this at the same time, but I did too much raise, so I did this, and the whole thing went right over.
Oh.
I had 4 beehives upside down in the snow.
That gets
So I
exciting.
put all that back together. Yeah, fortunately, I wasn't even wearing a PPE, and it was cool enough that I didn't even see a bee. I just picked the boxes back up and put them back on the skids. So it wasn't an issue at all, but it sure looked bad. If you watch my video close, you'll see it. It's kind of in the distance, but you'll see the whole thing go bam right over frontwards.
Which video is that? I want to watch that. I was going to say, you could have videoed that. You'll get a lot of hits on that.
So I missed the first part of what you said. Sorry.
I said you should have videoed that, but now you said you did, so I got to go back and try to find that.
It's the 2021 moving bees into the barn video, and it's maybe the second or third stack of hives that I picked up. It's kind of in the distance, so it's not real obvious what happened, but if you watch, she goes right over.
I see Cajun. He says that he's got an easy loader, something I'm looking very, very closely at right now. And I mentioned that to Brad. Actually, Brad mentioned that to me this morning. So you obviously watched my video.
I watched your video.
So he gave me a name of Phil. I went back and I took a look at his, and Phil kind of said the same thing. Anything less than about 250 hives, you're pretty much not going to pay for that. So I'm interested to see what if Cajun can let us know what he thinks of it. And
he says he has an easy loader. His wife tells him to take it easy loading the boxes.
Oh, okay.
I thought his easy loader is his wife.
Yeah.
I'm originally from, I'm in Texas now, James, but I'm originally from Louisiana, so I speak Cajun. I understood that right away.
Got it. Well, like I said, I'm a one-man operation, and I don't want to keep borrowing a tractor to get my bees in and out of the barn and things like this. But I mean, if I can get them to the bee barn, a pallet jack could take care of them very, very quickly. But I just have to crunch some numbers because my whole sideline growing my business and everything like this, I want to make sure that I don't want to be taking on debt that I can't pay for. So I crunch the numbers a lot, and I really think it might be something that's going to fit it. I'm just not sure if it's going to fit my operation.
Let me tell you this, James, and it's not the same thing at all, but comparative wise, that little tractor I have, you can have for less than half the money of that easy loader, and it'll do a lot more for you. It won't load bees and unload bees as beautifully. You're always trying to load the tractor and get it where you need to go and all that kind of nonsense. However, one advantage I have is if my bee yard is wet, I park my truck or trailer on the road, and I go and ferry my bees out with my little tractor because it'll go places my truck and trailer won't go. You see how often Ian gets stuck. Well, he's got a whole big family full of people, and his dad's retired, and he just sticks dad in the tractor, and dad follows Ian around with the tractor and a chain. I don't have that luxury, and I would have an easy loader if I could afford one too. But just as comparison, that little BX, that BX with a loader you could have for about 15,000, I think.
Yeah, so basically half the price. I think he quoted
Brand new.
me. I think he quoted me for the small one. I think it was 35,000, and for the big one, I think he said it was 40. So
Yeah,
I mean that's a fairly significant investment, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
And
like
I agree with Brad there. I mean, with like Ian, he's always getting stuck and everything. And I deliver lumber and things like that. And, you know, they want me to get in places and I'm like, forget it. It's rained for 3 days.
Yep.
We're not getting off the blacktop, you know? And I think a 4-wheel drive, I think you have a John Deere, Brad?
It's a Kubota BX. It's kind of the
Kubota.
smallest BX. I wasn't a beekeeper when we bought it, so I didn't buy it for beekeeping. But I just kind of made my operation around it. That's why I chose 2-way pallets and whatnot, because it'll only lift 500 pounds or so. So you can't lift 4-way pallets with it. Just that kind of stuff.
No, I mean, I and those little tractors like that, I mean, they're well, you got that fork sticking out there, which limits your weight capacity.
Oh, absolutely. You start getting, 40 by 48 pallets, and you stick a load at the front of those. It won't lift anywhere near 500 pounds.
Yes, I used a little. I borrowed a little John Deere this fall. I think you can see that on my videos when I loaded up the bee yards. But I did find that a bit of a pain because, well, I got a buddy of mine, Alan. He's one I borrowed the tractor off of. So he brought his trailer with the tractor, and I had my trailer to haul the bees. And, you know.
Now, something you might think about and investigate is to get a dingo.
Yeah, I've seen those. That might be a cool deal. The little ones like that, I look at them and I wonder if their hydraulics are smooth enough, because you really need to have a feather touch on the hydraulics when you're dealing with bees. Even honey boxes and stuff, because they're not nailed together. Right.
Well, I mean,
but I think a dingo might
different
really be the deal.
Of them.
Yeah.
And then you get, and I believe most of all of them are track, which will float over top of soft ground better.
Yep.
Now, one thing I do know, a guy, now it wasn't bees, but he had a party tent company where they would, like a big circus tent. I mean, I'm talking big circus tent. And the way they work that is they drive these big 2-inch steel stakes in the ground and then hook all the ropes to it and all that stuff. But anyway, the long short of it is that he used to send 4 or 5 guys out there to tear these things down. And the sales guy said, here, try one.
Yeah.
So he sent, I think, 2 guys or a bunch of guys out there the first time. And they came back in like half the time, or maybe only a third of the time.
Yeah.
And he said, what's wrong? And he says, nothing, we're done. Because they used to, they can take hydraulics and pull them stakes up out of the ground. And then all that stuff is so heavy, palletized it. And then this thing just takes it to the truck and you're done.
Yeah.
So after that, he bought like 5 of them. And now 2 guys go out and do what they used to send 6 guys out there to do it. So yeah, I think finesse wise, I think that you'll find that it would probably work for what you're doing pretty good. Now, I don't know about the reach or anything.
I'm not familiar with them, so I'll have to check that out too.
They're
a tiny skid steer that you stand on the back.
You stand on the back of them, and they're designed for tight corners.
Yeah,
and going in very tight places.
Yeah, Fenton's got one of those here in Grand Prairie.
One thing about any kind of machine like that, like I keep going back to the tractor, or go back to this BX tractor, any tractor you want to think of. Tractors are one of those things. They're kind of like a Swiss Army knife. They do almost anything you want to do pretty good. You know what I'm saying? So you get something like a dingo, it'll do 10 things really well. You get a tractor, it'll do 50 things pretty good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you.
There's far more attachments. There's 3 points. There's buckets and loaders and forks and all kinds of stuff. And you can mow your grass with the thing.
And then there's parts most anywhere too.
Yeah, much more common sometimes. And I'm not trying to talk I'm just, just my experience.
Yeah.
sometimes I would love
like
to have dedicated equipment.
you could put a set of forks on the 3-point hitch and just back up to a pallet and raise it up.
Well,
Yeah,
when I had the acreage, I had that John Deere 755. So yeah, like say all sorts of attachments and stuff like that. So
yeah.
Hey, so
too bad I sold the acreage before.
I'm sorry. While we're talking about tractors, I have a 35 horse 4-wheel drive Branson model tractor, and I can get that thing stuck. And the only way I can get it out is to drive the bucket into the ground and pull myself forward or pull myself back.
Yeah.
What would you do if you had forks on the front? Could you still do the same maneuver?
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes it's better and sometimes it's worse because what's better about it is the forks are longer than the bucket, so you can get more swing to give yourself more of a push. However, if it's soft ground, then you've just got a small contact point with the fork instead of the long edge on the bucket, so it actually might just push right into the ground. So sometimes it's better and sometimes it's not.
Okay. I just didn't want to get. I don't move pallets or anything. All my bees in stands, but that was just curious to me. You said you can go out and get things in the mud, and I was thinking, boy, I could be in a real bind.
Well,
you should watch Brad's video. Was it last fall or this spring, Brad, that you made the new bee yard? I think that was last fall, right?
Well, last spring when I moved the bees out, it got so muddy. It got so muddy the first day I had to stop. I couldn't continue going. It was just too muddy. And, I really felt bad. It cheated later on that I didn't take the time to video pulling all my bees out of the water because I was in such a panic and just needing to get bees out of the water that it would have just been an incredible sight to see that little tractor going through 18 inches of water, picking up beehives and having water pour out of the beehives when I picked them up and carry them across the yard and stuff. It was just an incredible experience.
What do you got there, Spanky?
Yeah, we were talking about that Slovenian trailer in the chat there. And I was on to show Amir that they got these caddies that slide out to hold the frames in there.
I did a video that I'll post it later on. I haven't got any stuff. I just got home tonight. But actually, that trailer is designed around Langstroth. It is not Slovenian. It's actually you
can go on Etsy and buy Slovenian from Slovenia.
Right.
So,
but I mean, what I'm saying is he designed his trailer for Langstroth
frames.
Yeah, and the box that I sent Bob has Langstroth frames in it.
Yeah. But I got the guy to, give me the spiel on the video, so I'll post that as soon as I get time to.
I was just wanting to show Amir that's got these custom little. I don't know how I don't know the right word to describe those. They're not. They're kind of boxes.
It's like a drawer.
That's a caddy or a drawer.
Yeah.
Charlie, did he tell you how he got all the bees out of there when he would open those up on the inside like that? Does he have to?
No, he never really did say on that. I mean, usually I've watched some of them Slovenia Hive guys, and they'll usually have like, there's one guy, I think he's in the Carolinas, who was making these things, and they would make a bee house like over there in Europe. And there would be a skylight up in the roof where they wouldn't have no screen. They would just crank up the lid, and then the bees would fly up out at the roof line. And then there wasn't really any, what do you call them? The windows in that building.
As I walked through that trailer, that's the only thing he showed the drawers and stuff like that coming out. And you're right. They're all designed for Langstroth frames, which is the Slovenia Hive idea, but modified to accept a standard Langstroth frame, which you see here in North America. But I really didn't understand as to how you would get all the bees out of that trailer.
Yeah, I agree.
And
you'd almost have to leave one of the doors open while you're in there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And then another thing is like I watched Richard Knoll and they were over there in Hawaii, and they actually had a Slovenian hive over there, and all the you have to be really on top because they're so small. they're going to swarm on you if you're not in them all the time, pulling honey or rotating frames or something, and maybe it's like everything else, whatever you're used to.
It's like gathering eggs in the morning.
Oh
you
yeah.
Harvest the honey every morning.
Well, what did he have in that trailer? I think there was 24 hives on each side, wasn't it?
It was like, I'm going to say 70 hives or something like that he could put in there.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I thought it was 2 rows of 12.
I don't know. I have to, I like to say, I had him give me the spiel on tape. So I'll make that'll probably be one video there. Let it, make that out.
But it is pretty neat for like pollination though, to be able to just pull the trailer to the field. And
maybe Jason, he's got original pollination trailer that a guy made years ago over on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, where he had probably 8 of them. And there was, I'm going to say, I'll say 30 hives on a trailer, 15 of them down each side. And he would move them at night, from, let's say a watermelon field or a pumpkin field or a bean field, and move them all over creation down there. And that's what he did for a living and all that. And it was, and it was open, you put it behind a pickup truck, and they had a walkway down the middle behind the hives if you needed to get into them. And they had it designed where you had closures that you just slipped on there that the bees couldn't get out at night, stuff like that.
Jason said he was doing, what was it, Bob, 2 or maybe 4 more next year? He said it on this live stream.
Yeah, he was going to buy all those 2 frames and queens that Nancy was talking about, right? So
yeah, well,
yeah,
she's after thinking about it, and of course, I think we
peer pressured into it.
No, I could tell Nancy goes to bed early, and she's up very early in the morning, and she called me the next morning and said that, you guys are right that, definitely the price was too cheap. And then she's come up with a couple different other ideas. Maybe she'll be on my chat Saturday night or Sunday, not Saturday, but Friday. She explained all that stuff.
Okay, that's a great concept. Brad, have you heard about that? What Nancy was talking about in that chat? She's, instead of selling queens, she's selling 2 frame nukes. So there's almost guaranteed queen acceptance. So
that's, that makes perfect sense to me. I'm not surprised. I am surprised that it's something new, because that makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Her thing was, Brad, was, you get a first year beekeeper that doesn't know how to do whatever. And she said, all right, I'll say a mini hive, you might as well call it, with eggs and brood and food and all that with the queen. And they're all, are accepted, are all in one unit and all. So,
well, that'd be just like Bee Solid Nuke, but what's the pricing? Is it,
originally I think she tried to do it like for $60, but now she's come around and said, it's way too cheap. Yeah. So, she's coming up with an idea of,
what are you talking about? That's 5 million Canadian.
Oh, they've been giving me a hard time down here the whole time, Brad.
Yeah, they were pretty silent there a number of years ago when their dollar was worth about 85 cents, but we'll take it.
Yeah, we'd go out for supper, and it's like, okay, it's $19.95, or James, your bill is
$65 Canadian. Yeah, exactly. Well, we always kind of count $50 a frame for brood. So if you're going to be selling a 1 frame. Nuke kind of thing, then I would be expecting you $90 for that with a queen.
Yeah, that's what she started to come up with. So Sourwood, how much are you selling a 3 frame nuke then for, and where are you located at?
Well, most of ours are 3 frames, right? It's 3 frames of brood and 2 frames of food. I mean, it's 5 frames, but
5 frames for $200 at least.
Yeah,
most cases.
Unless you're in Texas, then it's like 300.
Well, from what she told me, at the Hive Life, she said she's for $125. Okay,
man, that's cheap.
She came up with the idea of, you buy a nuke with a queen, let's say a frame, but a la carte, where you want 2 frames, 3 frames, that kind of a thing, where, like you said, $40 a frame, something like that.
Like I'm wondering if selling queens to, because I sold some queens to hobbyists last year and it was a complete gong show, but I'm wondering if you could sell a queen to a hobbyist and just throw in a push-in cage with it and give them some instructions, because that's kind of almost a foolproof way to introduce a queen. Put a nice push-in cage in that thing and let her roll.
If they can get that right.
If they can get that right. Pretty easy though, isn't it?
They had a really neat idea for a beginner down here, and I don't know if anybody else saw it. It was one of the woodworking places. So they had it was about 4 inches thick that kind of went along, and it would hang right where a frame would hang.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
It was cut out so that a queen box would go in, and then it was cut out inside that, so it opened up a large cage that was closed on both sides with hardware cloth. Okay. So they were selling the queen, like his idea was you sell the queen to a brand new beekeeper in this box. You more or less, you pull the cork, you put this you slide the queen box in there, and the queen and her attendants can walk around back and forth inside this hardware cloth, for 2 or 3 or 4 days, of which the rest of the bees couldn't get at them. It was kind of a neat idea, actually, but that would solve it for the brand new hobbyists and stuff like this that have such a hard time with the queen introduction.
It would go one step. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I like that idea, because a push-in cage didn't work for me because I don't use plastic foundation. You can't really use a push-in with wax or.
Do they actually tunnel all the way under it?
They say they'll tunnel from the backside and kill them. That's what I've heard. I don't know. I've never tried.
Well, my thing, last year I was selling cells, and this year I had a queen that hatched out in the incubator, and I'm like, first I thought the cell was going to be a dud, but it turned out
you did video. I just watched that one.
Oh, you're where I dropped her down and let her walk on.
I was watching that. I was saying, take the damn gloves off, Charlie.
And I did.
Fussing with this queen with the gloves on. I'm thinking, my God, take the gloves off.
I did. Anyway, next, this coming year, I'm gonna start selling virgins, and or mated queens, either way.
Yeah, I've sold some virgins. I've produced enough queens to be big in sales, though. I just use my own queens. I'll sell a couple.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, with the 2 framers, I can get by without gloves. I don't know. There's, it's like, what is it? There was a couple guys talking about how they got queens that are. Oh, I know what it was. Paul up there in Canada, where it doesn't use a veil or anything, and I'm like, I like to see those hives to see how.
Oh, Paul's up in the Yukon.
No, I'm talking about up at golf.
Paul Kelly.
Paul Kelly.
Yeah.
I like to go to one of his yards to see how how common bees are.
Yeah. I know people look at my videos and how do you do that? And like I look at Bruce Jenny and think, God, how the hell do you put up with bees like that? I can't do it.
Yeah, no, they're mean bees.
I'll tell you, I've watched a lot of Paul Kelly's videos, and they stay on top of their genetics, and they even bring in their queens that are bred on an island somewhere.
Well, that was
Pele Island.
Yeah, that was his part of his talk that I was at, where they have this island out there, and he's basically imitating what's it called? The monk.
Brother Adam.
Brother Adam.
Yeah,
the same principles what he did, and that's great. If you can find a place like that, So, but
hey, Charlie, I got a question for you. You're talking about your two frame nukes, and I was looking at that thinking, I'll back up a little bit. My wife and I are discussing getting her more involved in and doing some more queen rearing and trying to set things up. And we're just talking about different kinds of equipment, different ways to go. And your two framers kind of caught my eye. And I just wondered if there would be any deal breakers for a small unit like that in a colder climate. I mean, the summers are not colder here, but it's shorter.
Well,
and I might be trying to raise queens in a cooler spring. So I wonder, you got any advice there?
I don't know, Brad. I think some days I feel like, maybe I should have made these 3 framers, for the volume of bees.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't have a problem with them because we're warm when I'm using them things. And they work fine. And I made them wide enough to where you can slide the frames over so you can get another frame out. It's a little fat without rolling anybody. And they're, I find them okay. But then I got to thinking about, okay, if I did 3 frames, all right, well, then you're only 2 frames off from a 5-frame box. Well, then you could fill that 5-frame box with either a follower board, or I've had some friends of mine use a big piece of foam insulation.
Yeah, I've done that.
Where they wrap it with either something so they don't eat it and stick that in there. So then you're not buying or making something special, than other than a regular 5-frame nuke box.
Yeah.
So now, Bob, didn't you buy 3-frame nuke boxes already made up?
No, I bought 2-frame. I got 2 framers. Yeah. So I've got 32 frame nukes. And then when they build up, like the queen comes back mated, then I'll put another 2-framer on top of them to let them start building up.
Oh, yeah.
And then once they fill that out, then I move them to a 5-frame box and then go 5/5 and then move them to a 10-frame box. And,
mine, I made them myself, and they just have a regular migratory lid to them, and I just keep them populated, or try to, and then pull the queen out if I'm selling her, and that kind of a thing, or either introduce her to another 5-frame nuke or something.
Do you winter any of those, Charlie?
Not in 2-frame. No. Now I do winter 5-frame nukes, but I always winter here 5/5. So it's still a 10-frame. But
I can't remember exactly where you're located. Sorry.
I'm in Maryland. Close to the Chesapeake Bay.
You're east.
Yeah, we're east. And now, I mean, it got down here, what was it, 2 weeks ago? It was about 5 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, you get kind of cold there.
That got cold. I mean, no, we don't normally get that cold. Our average is, it'll be in the, let's say, 28 degrees Fahrenheit, or, it's a little bit below 0 or freezing, which is 32. But
it's 18 right now. But
well, I like the 2-frame nukes. I could have got the smaller. Everybody uses the cubes like James does, but and I'm not questioning your choice at all, James. It's just that I felt like I'm more to using deep frames. It just made sense for me to use.
Well, I mean, I borrowed the idea from Barnyard.
Barnyard Bees. Yeah,
that's where I got the idea from. And, I just made them, I got the lumber, the machinery to do it. And I like the idea that it's used as a standardized frame. I don't have to have the little styrofoam things or, all specialized. And I can take that queen in that frame with those bees and her eggs and go right over here and plop it in let's say a queenless nuke and grow her that way. And I sell nukes, and I try to keep at least 20 nukes here, and I have 5-frame over 5-frame. The top, when I go into winter, is pretty much honey, sugar water honey. And it's like when I tell kids or young new beekeepers in my club, I says, if you get a 3-pound package or something like that, I says, spend the extra money and put it in a 5-frame nuke, and condense it down where they will draw the frames out better when you got them condensed around 5 frames, and feed them and then put another box on, and put another box on top of that, and you'll keep, because they don't have any wax because they're new, and keep, let that hive grow that way because they like to grow straight up. And it's a, I look at it this way: a 5-frame nuke is a great tool, and that's the way I view a nuke. It can.
I've completely fallen in love with those pro nukes I started using this year.
Now, do you have any problem then? Of course, I don't know. I mean, how hot it gets up there in the summertime, but I heard sometimes they'll cook a batch of 5 frames of bees real
It
quick.
can get hot. I mean, a really, really hot day here would be 100 F. So,
that's hot enough for me.
But not normally. Normally, a super hot day here is about 80, 85 F.
Yeah.
But the sun can get, just like you think, it can get so hot beating on things. So I don't know, because we didn't have that hot weather here. This summer is the first year I've used them.
Mm-hmm.
I find I can't really run them through our honey flow because there's too much space beside the frames and over top. But when I'm making splits and things, and my motto now is you don't go to an out yard without 1 or 2 pro nukes full of frames, because you're going to run into a problem. And I've started calling those boxes my problem solvers because they do so much for me. I've got my wife working in the bee yard. She'll grab one and use it for a quiet box while she's looking for queens.
Okay.
I've got one with all my crap in it. It's just my toolbox. I got my queen catcher, my pants, and my flashlight, and everything.
It's like I was telling James and asking him, and like management, I've always asked, like, I had one commercial guy that's here, local, young guy, and he talked about equalize. I'm like, what are you talking about? They don't tell you about this stuff. And it's like going through the brood boxes and making sure that all your hives are equal when it comes to the amount of brood and everything. And that way you reduce your swarming situation. But then I'm sure you do that yourself. And then after that, you don't go back into them and really do any more equalization, and you don't have the swarms, or what other type of management techniques is what I'm asking that you do to if you do single brood, put a queen excluder on, put honey supers on, is that it?
Yeah. Things are so defined here. Like you look at that background. I just changed that because that is today. That's my backyard.
Is that actually a photograph of your backyard?
That's taken from my deck outside my back door.
Really?
That's literally my backyard. I don't know if you can see my little fire pit here. Where is it?
Okay, yeah, I see it. Yeah.
In the backyard. So there was just some nice frost and the light was just right. But anyway, so our seasons are so defined here.
Yeah.
And even though we get years like last summer, which was crazy, it was crazy different. It wasn't probably anything like what you folks see. I watch you guys manage, and sometimes I think, gee, it doesn't get cold there. How do these guys have so much trouble? But I think it causes you far more trouble than it causes us.
Yeah, we had that discussion this weekend.
We did, yeah. So I was mentioning to Bob earlier. Actually, I think we were talking about it as we were driving home.
Yeah.
I'd be more concerned that their colonies down here are going to run out of food because they're flying, but there's nothing for them to collect. And the temperature's warm enough that cluster's not staying tight. Like, you guys must have an issue with starvation, I would think.
We do.
And that's what, but it's funny when I put out a video in November and it's 75 degrees here and I'm feeding it, people are like, why are you feeding? Why don't you just leave them alone? Because it's 75 degrees and they're out flying. That's the thing is that they're just going to burn through the reach. And you may not see it now. You see it at the end, like right as the flow is getting ready to start, where they should be brooding up.
Yeah. Then they die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Most of ours die in April. Most of ours.
Yeah. Well, here, April's is spring for us here in Maryland. And at February, March, look out, because you'll get those 50-degree days where they're going to go out, they're going to cleanse, fight, and then they're going to try to fly and try to find something, and there's nothing. And that's another thing. It all depends on management. I mean, for me, I pour the sugar water to them to where they just will not take anymore. And I don't have problems of starvation where I get other people in my area. And I don't know what it is. They'll say, well, I put sugar brick, this is hot backyard. And they'll say they'll feed a little bit of sugar water in the fall. Then they'll put, let's say, a sugar brick on or a candy board on, or they'll do a mountain camp method thing, or they'll say, okay, let's put some fondant on.
Yeah.
And that's why I questioned Brian from Castle Highs. He's putting fondant on here a couple of weeks ago. And I says, Brian, why are you putting that on now? I said, that's to us, or to me, that's an emergency food because you've ran out. Now, last year I had nucs and hives that, well, not so much my 10 rec, because I was experimenting with candy boards, which are a lot of work as far as making them things. And I ran out of sugar water. I had fed them quite a bit, but not to the point where they just stopped taking it. And then I was like scrambling come early spring, putting sugar bricks on or candy boards on because they were, blowing through what I had fed them liquid wise. And so I said, all right, that's it. I'm going back to what I normally do and feed the living daylights out of them. I don't have a problem.
Well, that's
And
back
of course, people look at me and my club. I said, well, how much sugar did I said, well, I bought 1,500 pounds. And they're like, what? I says, yeah. I says, you do the math. I said, mine's not quite 2 to 1. It's 20 gallons of water and 250 pounds of sugar. I got a mixing machine and all. And well, you've seen them on the thing, Brad, if you watch my channel. And it makes 40 gallons. And I got a tank and I pump it. And I have top high feeders. And I just go down there with my truck and just pump it off. And I'm all about. Go ahead, Phil.
I'm
Phil,
sorry.
trying to break in.
I'm trying to break in, but I'm actually going back to Brad's earlier question about 2-frame nucs. Sorry about that, but
that's all right.
I just wanted to share it with him. Brad, one thing that I really had a good experience with last year was taking a 10-frame box and divide it into 3 frames, and you can cut a hole in the side or build a special bottom board or whatever, but you can do splits or raise queens in those 3 frames, and that might be that. Yeah, I think I might have seen some videos with you like that. I don't know, but yeah, the great thing about that is if one of them fails, you just pull the divider out and let them expand into it. And when I did it, took if I got 2, I'd move those 3 into 5-frame nucs and let the other expand. Matter of fact, I got 3 colonies out there now that they're full colonies living in those boxes. So, and then this spring I'm selling those off, and I'm going to do it again. Yep. But yeah, I think that's a better option to me than 2 frames or 5 frames when you're trying to start new colonies.
I've done that, and I'll give you my thoughts on it. I sold them. I built 10 of those, and I sold them. I ended up not liking them, and not because they didn't work. And this is the difference. I actually wrote quite at length today or yesterday on a social media post about somebody was asking something like this, and so many. Charlie was touching on this. So many of our decisions are made based on how we want to manage and how what kind of works in our situation and how we want to do things. I was telling somebody, they were asking indoor wintering, outdoor wintering, what's better? Well, it's whatever you want to do, that's what's better. It's nothing to do with the bees. There's viable methods both ways. And so I've done that, and you're right. I've wintered those, and this kind of comes back to what Charlie was saying with feeding. I think you were saying that you've wintered 3 over 3 or 2 over 2 or something like that. So
you mean nucs? It's 2 boxes, 2 5-frame boxes.
Yeah. So I've actually wintered those, Phil, that you're talking about, those 3 ways. I call them 3x3s, so 10-frame box, 3 nucs that are 3 frames each.
Yeah.
I wintered those, but singles, just 3 deep frames. And and I've had success with that. And that, first of all, speaks to the difference between, your warmer climates and my colder climate. When I can keep that barn cold all winter, 40F in there all winter in the dark, they just don't eat very much at all. So that works. And the big reason that I sold those 3 ways I've learned, because I've gone through 3-ways, I've gone through double 5s in a 10-frame box, I've gone through the quad minis, the 4 minis in one 10-frame medium box. I've sold them all because I've decided that the way I manage bees and the way I manage my operation, having a box that has more than one colony in it frustrates me to no end because it doesn't give me the flexibility. Namely, I have 3 colonies in a 3-way. I take one out to put it somewhere else. I got a bunch of bees left in there, maybe I haven't even found the queen.
Exactly.
Well, normally, if it was a single box, I'd pick that box up, turn it upside down, and dump it into the box I put it in. Done, right? I can't do that. And so those kind of things is why I've decided just to go to singles.
And that is why, they all talked about here years ago. I was watching Michael Palmer and his double nucs, which are all on one bottom board with 2 4-framers on there, and then he puts the 2 4-framers on top, and of course Better Bee sells that. And then I got to thinking about that. I'm like, just like what Brad said, all right, I got one side that's a dead out, let's say, and how am I going to clean that out with having another hive next door? That's why I never went that way.
They're cheap and convenient to build, really is what they are. They're cheap and convenient to build.
Yeah.
Just put some dividers in a 10-frame box and Bob's your uncle, you're in business.
Yeah, well, that's where I do a 5-frame. And if you were liking the idea of the shared heat between the 2 hives, then just in the wintertime, slide your 5-framers together. I have had some friends of mine do that and maybe insulate around it to keep them warm. Now, and when it comes to, I bought a Lyson insulated 6-frame nuke, 5 or 6 frames over 6 frames. I wanted to try it, and you were talking about, keeping your the temperature at 40C or 40F, or 4C and 40F, 40 degrees. I found that because of the insulation, they don't eat as much because the bees don't have to warm themselves because they are insulated, so they don't eat as much food and they survive much better. And I do like the hive. I mean, even though it's insulated, the only problem I find with, if I want to throw a vape them with, a 110 vaporizer, I had to put a piece of wood on that front entrance to not try to melt it.
I've got a bunch of well, you've probably seen them, the Paradise polystyrene hives boxes, and I've got a love-hate relationship with them. I love that I have them, and I love what I paid for them, and that's all. I hate everything else about those things.
I looked at those at the show.
I was going to say, I mentioned them too, Brad. You found the wax moth actually tunneled through those poly hives, correct?
Oh, yeah. And that's why I have them, because the guy I got them from, they got eaten up really bad. So the wax was going right through. Yeah.
Now the other thing is, now you, James and Brad, is that, have you guys looked at those new smokers, that it's got a cartridge from over in Europe?
The Aposolus.
No,
I haven't seen that one.
Dancing Bee is selling them now.
That's why that's in your country, right?
It's basically the same as a vape that you would vape.
Yes.
And so you squeeze the bellows and it
turns it on.
It vaporizes smoke into them.
Now, how often do you have to hit the bellows for that?
Oh, I don't know. I think you just hit it once and it
just once.
And it smokes.
It's once and then it'll kick in. But now it does have it's got a battery or something on there. But I think it's charged. Yes, you have to charge it. But it'll shut itself off, and it has no fire to it at all.
You see, that thing serves a function. There's a lot of beekeepers who have the arthritis in the hands. And so you'll see like these smokers that have the Chinese little electric fans that replace the bellows. And you'll see the reviews. The guys can't pump the bellows. Their hands, they just can't pump them. And they'll buy these little cheap Chinese.
Yeah.
smokers because they got a little switch. You just press the switch, and they'll put tape on that switch so that way it stays running.
That's
so they can
fantastic.
work their bees.
Yeah.
So that has an application. I mean, there's a group of people that'll use it. It's don't tell me that you have to repeatedly hit the bellow. You're killing a part of your opportunity here. You need to make that either a switch or it's just a one.
I'm gonna say that vape smoker is like when they started mixing paint and primer and selling it in 1 gallon. That's all black magic, and I'm not going to go along with that.
I like to see it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I saw one video on it, and it was by Black Mountain Honey out of the UK. He did a video on that.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's just one for myself. I think it's just one more thing that I would have to. I mean, my smoker, I can grab a handful of grass. I always have wood chips. I've got pellets.
I'd be heading to the BR, the damn battery be dead, and then what do I do? Wait for the battery to charge. I got a match.
Yeah. One thing I was happy to see that Dayton has made a change to their smokers, of which I quite like. So Brad keeps giving me a hard time with my Flow Hive smoker there.
Yeah, I gotta get rid of that.
But it's the thing I like about it is on the inside of the top it's got a grate, and I'm happy to see that Dayton has now accepted that, so I can officially
doing
get rid
that?
of my Flow Hive smoker, and I can buy myself a nice Dayton smoker now, and they've actually got the nice grate on the top.
So that's like a spark arrestor or something on the top.
You got a picture there?
Hey, there you go.
Oh, that's the electric.
See, that's what a lot of those guys with arthritis are buying up.
Yeah.
Because they keep up those bellows, and they'll just put tape on that button to hold the fan down. But you got to read the reviews on those, because some of those they'll melt. That housing will melt. They're just not good quality.
Yeah.
You just need one person though to make one of good quality, and you've got a whole market of people that would buy them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I think they had some of those at the show, or somebody had a smoker lit over there.
Yeah, there was one guy. He had some kind of an electronic module on the back of the bellows or something.
Yeah, he had his wife's what did he call it? His wife's vaporizer or whatever he had stuck in there. So you'd walk by, you thought it was actually smoking, but it was actually just water vapor that he had shooting out of the thing. It was kind of a neat way to sell the smoker. Apparently he sold lots of them because of it.
Yeah, I know what it was. He had an electric element inside that would light the smoker. I think it's what it was. I think it's how it worked. I'm not sure.
So Spanky, if you have trouble squeezing the bellows, I understand, but how do you pick up frames? How do you squeeze a frame lifter if you have
Don't ask me. I just saw that thing on Amazon and I was like, what in the world? So I started
First thing, Phil, is who uses a frame lifter?
I use a frame lifter, but I have boxes.
Really?
I have boxes that you can't take and push the frame out.
I have the frame lifter. I always forget to bring it, but I think it's a great deal because you can handle the frame with one hand.
Yeah. Well, I only really use a frame lifter late in the season when they've built that honey dome up over my brood frames and whatnot, and I go in there and there's billions and billions of bees, and I'm just mashing bees left, right, and center, and I can grab that frame and pull it out without too much calamity or too much danger to my queen. So that's really the time I use frame lifter.
We had a discussion about frames, James. You remember this weekend?
Oh, we've had so many discussions. Which one?
Okay, this one was about waxing versus non-waxing, right?
Oh, yes.
Oh.
And
Brad knows where he's going because I had.
So we had
a new love of mine.
There's a brand new frame on the market, which everybody at Hive Life received one as they walked in, the Premier Pura frames, right?
Oh yeah.
And I'm not picking on Pura. It can go to any of the brands, right? So you did an experiment with those frames, did you not, James?
I did, and I had a long discussion with the premier owner. He was at Hive Life, so I had a hell of a time last year with trying to get my bees to draw out the double wax, the premium Premier double waxed foundation.
Well, there's your problem right there. It needs to be triple.
Well,
never good enough.
I fought, and I got it from Dancing Bee. So I phoned up. Actually, I think Dancing Bee is where I got it. So I phoned them up, and they're like, "Nope, it's because my question that I hit Premier up with as well is they weren't drawing it out. So my first question was, do they use beeswax or did they cut it? I was, one of the first questions was because they were having such a hard time. I wanted to know, did they cut their beeswax with, say, paraffin or something like that? And so they've assured me it is 100% pure beeswax that they put on there. But I couldn't get them to draw it out, and I remember questioning Brad up and stuff like that too. And Brad's like, wax it, roll some wax on there, and I did that. So I waxed a bunch of frames, and I went back out. And the experiment I did is in a 10-frame box, I had 5 frames of just the standard double wax from Premier, and I had 5 frames that I waxed. I literally brought them back, popped the foundation out, I rolled wax, on them, put them back in, and I dropped them in. So it was like 1 of Premier, 1 of mine, 1 of Premier, 1 of mine. And within 24 hours, the ones that I waxed, they had drawn out almost halfway. In 48 hours, they had them drawn out 100%, and they already had them being filled with nectar. But the other ones, they didn't touch. So I actually had some that stayed in those hives the whole season, and they didn't touch them. So, the talking with Premier, they're going to go back. So they were going to do some experiments, because apparently that was the first he's ever heard of it. But I was kind of surprised. But I can honestly tell you, I will not put a frame in any of my hives that I have not waxed ever again. And I won't spend the money on the additional waxing. But that's just me.
So are you rolling it, James, or are you dipping it?
I roll it.
So I guess then it leads me to say, then why are we spending for any pre-wax? Why don't we just get just the plastic frame and roll it yourself? Why are we spending an extra 50 cents a frame or whatever it is?
Well, what are your thoughts, Brad?
My experience is I've used almost exclusively Man-like Right Cell plastic foundation. And don't forget the defined seasons that we have here, and the fast and hard and slow and short honey flow that we have. And if I can put all the Man-like Right Cell foundation in that hive that I want, and they're going to jump on it and build it if I do it at the right time. If I don't do it at the right time, totally ignored. However, any foundation, and this is what I've learned a lot about wax and what the bees do and stuff over the last 2 years. And any foundation that the bees don't draw in my hive in a season, if I put it in a little bit too late and they don't actually draw it, I find that they will often strip that wax off of that plastic foundation to use elsewhere, because there's no flow for them to actually create new wax for it. They'll just strip it and reallocate it. So that means that the next year they're not going to draw that. They're not going to draw it properly. You get that comb that's drawn sideways to the face and all that kind of stuff. So in my operation, anything that comes out of the extractor that's not drawn properly goes to the side, and when I'm all done, then I start melting wax and re-rolling wax on all of that stuff that wasn't drawn. If it's straight out of the box, I'm okay, because it's got a little film of wax on it. But if it's been in a hive, they may have stripped that. And you notice that with wax foundation too. I know a lot of guys use wax foundation, and I don't. I've had wax foundation in my hives, and I've grown to really hate it. But that's just me. But you'll notice wax foundation, if you put wax foundation sheet in a hive, if you do it at the wrong time, they will chew off the corners of that foundation and build the center. And then once the flow hits, then they're going to build down those corners into drone comb. Okay, which is fine. It's whatever you want. I don't like that in my hives, but that's just me. It's exactly the same principle. On a plastic foundation, they're not going to eat the plastic away, but they're still going to strip that wax off of there. If I wax a frame and I stick it in a hive, that'd be 2 days, and they will pull all of the wax I put on that frame out into comb. It may only be a couple of millimeters thick, but they will draw that immediately, flow or not. And then that's what I love about waxing my frames. I'll put 50 cents worth of beeswax on a frame though, so it's not free, but I get all that money back because all of that turns into honey in the jar.
I just don't have much wax. But okay, I use starter strips, and they do the same thing, Brad. It's late in the season, they'll take the strip at the top, and they'll tear that out and use it somewhere else. But I just did a video, and a friend of mine, he bought some land, and he has a bunch of beehives that were abandoned, and they're all wax, they're all plastic foundation. And obviously the wax moths have just eaten everything off of those. So I was explaining to him that he needed to wax those really well before he put them back in. And so the bees would draw them out. And there's actually some examples in the video where the bees drew the wax 3/8 of an inch away from the comb, 3/8 inches away from the plastic foundation because it wasn't waxed properly. But someone commented, and I didn't know how to respond to it. Someone commented, I've been keeping bees for 25 years and I've never waxed a plastic foundation. And I was sort of dumbfounded by that because personally, I bought some of the equipment I bought had plastic foundation and I've witnessed it. If it doesn't have wax, it's been sitting up for a few years, they won't draw it out. And they'll draw it.
No, I have had some luck with taking that, like if they hadn't started drawing it out, of course it gets really hot here in the summer. I'll pull it out while I'm doing the inspection. No, I'll set it on top of the colonies next to it, and the heat kind of softens that wax up and refreshes it, and then I just put it back in, and they've worked on it that way.
Foundations in your truck bed, it started melting.
Man, I've got about 4 cases of Acorn heavy waxed frames out there, but they, just like you were saying, some of them they pulled out, some of them they didn't care about, and
using black foundation, Bob.
I've got some black. I use the black in my brood boxes, and then
if I leave my black foundation sitting out like that, they warp.
Yeah,
they will eventually warp. So I have to be careful about that.
You can see if it's in the sunlight like that. I use Acorn black, and it'll melt that wax real quick.
Right.
Yeah.
So my test, like I say, I knew the flow was on, so there was really no reason as to why they didn't draw out the Premier double waxed foundation. Especially when I put that other stuff in there, they drew it right out. So, like I say, I lost a lot of time, and I know I lost a lot of honey last year simply because I'm fighting the problems with expansion. So I don't have extra drawn comb yet, and I won't this year. So I'll be fighting that battle again this year. Until I can get that drawn comb that I can access. I'm talking to Brad earlier in the year. He's like, there's got to be somebody around there that you can buy some of that stuff off of. I wish I was closer to the guys there in Manitoba. Unfortunately, some of these beekeepers in Alberta, they just do not want to help each other out. I mean,
it's too bad when you're here, we didn't know, because I could have sent you home with some.
And I had my truck. We could have loaded it up.
I know. That's too bad.
Maybe I got to make another trip this spring. See what kind of other shenanigans we can get into.
Well, that's what I'm advising all new people ask me. You get bees, you better have a couple of boxes of drawn comb. And I'm not talking honeycomb. Everybody wants to scare new beekeepers about, you lose honey if you don't have drawn comb for your honey supers and all that kind of nonsense. They'll draw the frames and honey flow. You need brood comb is what you need. You need comb for that brood chamber. That's swarm control.
I agree with that. In my experience, because I've used a lot of starter strip with the fishing line for reinforcement, they draw that before they will plastic or wax. They like nothing, but they don't draw what you want them to draw. They draw some drawn comb, and they do what they want.
Well, that's bees, isn't it?
You can't have that on the commercial. Having.
Well, I actually run some of those, Phil. I run some. It's wire, not fishing line, but it's the same thing. It's deeps with 4 wires for honey frames, and I like them. They work really well. They're light. I like the fact that they're light. You don't have that extra weight in the honey super.
Well, and I've heard some people say they like to use that in the brood box deeps, and then they'll do mediums with plastic just so they'll go through the extractor better too. So that, I think that's a pretty good concept.
I don't have a lot of problem with my extractor, and again, it's how you want to manage. I don't like them in brood chamber because they have too much drone size cells. But I mean, if you watch my videos, you know my love affair with my story frames and all that kind of stuff. So that's just how I like to manage my bees. Because I'm not a real experienced beekeeper, I don't like seeing drone comb in odd places because it brings up red flags for me, and it draws my attention to think something wrong with my queen, or then I've got to go through that whole thing. And that's just kind of why I prefer to control where the drone comb is.
I really like the idea of your storyboard. I don't know if these guys know what that is. Do you?
I don't know what it is. No.
I don't know what it is. No.
Well, a quick little explanation. I started doing it because when I started keeping bees, like a lot of new beekeepers, I didn't like the idea of pouring a bunch of chemicals into my hives to treat for Varroa mites, but they were going to kill my bees. So I tried a lot of cultural controls, and one of them was drone brood removal for mite trapping. And one of the methods that I came upon was using a deep frame. Of course, I use all deep frames. Cutting my foundation in two and putting a foundation sheet right in the center of my deep frame, leaving the outsides just empty for foundationless comb building. So invariably, they'll build the foundation to worker size cells like the foundation, and then they'll build drone size cells on the sides. And that worked well because I could just go take that frame out, cut that foundationless comb out, toss it, melt it, whatever. And that was my drone comb removal, a drone brood removal for mite control. I think that worked reasonably well. I didn't have a major mite problem, but it turned into be just way too much work for one guy managing 150 colonies. But in that process, I noticed a few things. And the first thing I noticed was my hives are completely clean of drone brood. There's no drone brood on the top bars. There's no drone brood between the boxes. There's none, because they have a place to build the drones on that frame. And the other thing I noticed then as a new beekeeper was that how they work that story frame, I started calling it, told me a story about that colony. Are they advanced enough that they're going to start laying drones? Are they to the point in the season where they're going to start filling that with honey or syrup or something? So just by looking at that one frame, you can actually learn a lot about what that colony is doing and what it's thinking. So I just started calling it a story frame. I don't use it for drone brood removal anymore. I just keep it in there as kind of an indicator as to what the colony's doing. So that's a story frame.
Would you say that's a quick management tool that cuts down the amount of time you got to spend in your brood chamber?
I don't know if it really cuts down too much, to be honest. Again, as a guy that hasn't been managing bees too long, I'm only 8 years in. I've only had 8 seasons under my belt. It's just one more thing that I can look at to tell the story of what's going on. I'll tell you something I did notice. Sorry, Charlie, go ahead.
Go ahead. What did you notice?
One little thing, it kind of related, not really related to story frame, but one thing I noticed this past summer, and it just goes to show you never stop learning, do you? These last 2 years, I've been managing without wearing any gloves. So I'm getting more feel for particularly the heat in the colony, and it's really quite remarkable when you manage a hive and you can feel the heat radiating up through the colony. And I do know from my broodminder temperature sensors that when a colony is brooding, the temperature in that colony goes up about 5 degrees C. And depending on the ambient temperature that particular day, I actually, in working a number of my colonies, I noticed a pattern that I could almost tell definitively by cracking the lid off, putting my hive tool in there and sliding the frames. By the feel of how well the frames slide, I could tell if it was queen right or not, because I could tell if it was warm enough to brood. The ones that weren't warm enough to brood would have a colder propolis and wax composition in the hive, and the frames wouldn't move the same as the hives that were queen right. They would be a higher temperature, and the propolis and wax would be softer. So it was just one of those aha moments. It was really quite amazing that I could actually tell from that indicator whether or not there was a laying queen.
So we got a couple questions for you here, Brad. It says, have you run the green drone frames before?
Yes, I have. That's what I ran the first probably 2 years. I think I ran those, and yeah, they work fine. I used the method where I take it out, put it in the freezer. I would have twice as many frames as I needed, so I just swapped them out, and I'd have one set in the freezer. But again, I maybe had 30 hives, so it wasn't that bad to have double the amount.
And then someone said, what position are you? Oh, Cage said, what position are you putting your story frames in the column?
Well, I'll tell you that I put my story frames in position 3. I don't think it's very important to put them in position 3, but I do think it's important to put them in the same position in every hive, because then you get the same story from every hive in your apiary, right? So you'll get a story from the same perspective in every colony. So you could run it in position 4, even position 5, but then it'll tell you the story from the same perspective every time.
Gives you a standard, a baseline.
Exactly. You can't run one in position 2 and one in position 4 and they won't mean anything to you. You'll say, well, this colony is doing this and this colony is doing that. You can't, because it's a different perspective.
Closer to the center of the cluster, or the center of the nest.
Right. Right. Like position 4, they'll be laying drones in that before they'll be laying drones in position 2.
Had to check to make sure Charlie was still awake there.
Well, I mean, I've got some of those. I got some of those drone combs or frames, and so if you put them in the hive, that way you reduce your drone comb elsewhere. I know all your Varroa might go there quite a bit. What about your like queen mating? You put drone combs out there so you can saturate the area with drones and stuff?
I've done that. If I find a hive, I'm not really big time heavy duty on the queen genetics breeding thing. I'll just find a couple colonies that look really good to me in the spring. If she's a 3-year-old queen and she's going gangbusters, I say, hey, let's get some, breeding off of that one. Right. And so I'll throw a deep green frame in there and get, a couple thousand drones on the way and flood the area and pull larvae out of there to graft with. Of course, I know I can't do, just both. I'll have 2 or 3 of those going in my apiary at one time. So yeah, I think that's an excellent approach.
Okay.
All right. Yep. Yeah. See, this is all the things. It's food for thought, right? So, that's why I love these chats, is because everybody brings you those little nuggets, just that one little thing. I had a guy. I was doing something. And Craig Branch said, I know what it was. So back to the waxing of the frames. I kept a wax block in my jacket pocket. So if I came to a frame that didn't have, or they weren't drawn out, I'd take that wax block and scrub it all over it. He says, I've been keeping bees 20 years and never saw anybody do that on a video. So now he keeps a wax block in his pocket. So when he's doing his inspections, he can just quickly rub it on there and try to get him to, draw it out. And Michael Tangway says, how long do you keep your queens?
Oh, well, people ask me that kind of stuff all the time. How often do you replace your queens? How, what's your process for this, and what's your policy for that? And, I'm still trying stuff. Like I said, I've just finished my 8th season. I can't say that I've settled on one way to do things. Some of the things I kind of like, and some of them are still up in the air. So how long do I keep my queens? I really don't like a queen that's more than 2 years old. Winter is such an equalizer and it's so hard on queens. But Am I going to kibosh a queen that's 3 years old? I'm going to grab some larvae off her and make some new queens, because that's one of the most important things is, can she winter well? So I need to grab those. Like I love what Randy Oliver says, is as the first criteria for choosing your breeder is she's got to be alive. He says never breed off a dead queen, he says, because that's not good. So that's really my criteria. I found what did I find? A 2-year-old this year and a 3-year-old queen that were going gangbusters. So I just grabbed those, and that's what I was breeding off of.
Well, it's really a case-by-case basis, right? So if you come out to a colony, it's how she's performing, right? You got to evaluate that and then decide if you're going to replace her or not.
Yeah. I like to say that if she's not last year's queen, she's a dead queen, because I don't like to have a policy to drive them through a third winter and expect, make my operation depend on that. Well, it just seems to me that I can do better.
Well, James and I were talking earlier today, and it might have even been 3 hours ago when we started this chat. It was that he can't wait until the spring to find out that his queen is not going to be producing well for him, because the season's too short, and by the time she kicks into gear, well, then the flow is done. It's done. Yeah, you missed your opportunity, right?
Yeah, his season would be even shorter than mine.
And we're a little bit, I think, more forgiving down here.
You're north of 54, aren't you, James?
I am. Yep.
Yeah. We're at 50 here, so it's a lot farther south.
It was interesting looking at that map at Hive Life to see where everybody was from.
Yeah.
I think there was only one pin, and that was the gentleman that came down from the Yukon. That was north of me. So it really kind of puts things in perspective. And I never really thought about it as to being that much further north, when you think about things like that. But, it really does affect what you have for a season.
I think there's one beekeeper north of 53 in Manitoba. Yeah, there's nobody. There's no ag, first of all.
Are you saying the 53rd parallel or something?
Yeah,
or what?
that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
So international border, if you think of that, that's 49, and about every 70 miles is another parallel. So we're about 70 miles. Well, I'm actually 89 miles north of the international border here.
So James, I was wondering, when you drove over to see Brad, you did a video of that. It was mostly driving. I was wondering if you knew some beekeepers in Russia, you could have made a shorter trip to see.
Yeah, maybe, but it wouldn't have been nearly as much fun, and I don't think that's a country I want to be in right now.
Right. Well, that's our normal night to do these chats, Brad, is Tuesday night at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Eastern time, which is I don't know, 7 Central.
7. Yeah.
So please, by all means, you're welcome every time. We enjoy having a variety of people on here. When we started this chat almost a year ago, we decided that it didn't matter if you had no bees and wanted to be a beekeeper. 1 colony, 1,000 colonies, 78 colonies that produce 3,800 pounds of honey.
Well, I appreciate that.
And it's been really great talking to you guys. But, we've been on here 3 hours, and Charlie's fading fast over there.
Put some bluegrass music on.
You're out in the late country, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
We're Tuesday, the first Tuesday of the month. I'll qualify that that's our regional bee club meeting in person. So don't expect me this week.
I got you. No worries, but we appreciate you. And we do this several times a week. There's a bee chat pretty much every night of the week on somebody's YouTube channel. And we alternate. You'll miss Lee's channel. So next time it'll be back on my channel. So we alternate channels, because we find that when we simulcast them to both channels, then the people are flip-flopping back and forth to chat with their buddies in the chat. So we just unified it. But
I appreciate the invite.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And then this coming Friday, I'll have on my channel this coming Friday at 8 Center or Eastern Standard Time.
We blew a record with Charlie's New Year's Eve there channel. So
6 hours. Yeah.
I thumbed through that one. I thumbed through that one, James.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
It was quite the marathon.
I listened to that, Charlie, over like 3 days.
They did.
One time.
Yeah, it was just, it was New Year's Eve thing. And then we had folks from Central Time and Mountain Time. And then he also, of course, I wanted to blow Bob and Lee's record there.
Yeah, we stopped short. We fell short at 5.5 hours,
My battery went dead about 10 p.m. Central Time, about the same time I went dead.
Right.
And
well, everybody's got to start somewhere, Bob.
Like hour 3 or something like that. And I told the guys that I'm gonna put my phone on the charger. I'll come back in about an hour if you guys are still on. And I just fell asleep. I didn't think about it. And I woke up the next morning and clicked my phone. I'm like, 6 hours? Are you kidding me?
Right. Well, the funny part is we've been going for 3 hours and 15 minutes, and we still have 30 viewers right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
So
really nice to see everybody.
We got a dedicated crowd. So.
All right. Well,
I'll get off of here pretty quick because I'm getting pretty tired.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see y'all next stream, and we appreciate every one of you. And y'all have a great night, and thanks for watching.
Have a good night.
See you now. Bye.
Bye. And if you see James